I have really high hopes, but also the fear of on this one I have more of a fear of failure or like leaving something out, because when's the next time I'm going to be able to sit with you and chat?
Well,
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm Jack. This is Jack Unmasked. I'm back. I am here with Seth. How do you pronounce your last name? Gehle?
Gehle. Yeah.
Like Gail. It's not spelled that way, but that's how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Here with Seth Gehle. I saw his interview, as most of you did, so my viewers actually told me to reach out to you.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, one day I went on, and I'm reading comments, and everyone's like, hey, did you see Seth's interview? And I'm like, I kind of got like insecure. I'm like, oh shit, should I know who this person is? You know what I mean? And then I was like, no, I haven't. And like 4 comments in a row, you should really try to reach out to Seth. So I called Mark, and I was like, do you think there's any chance I could get in touch with Seth? And I was like, I don't want to be weird. Like, you don't have to give me his number, but like, could you just ask him if it's okay? And he was like, he's a super nice kid. He'll definitely say, because I know you got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I can't offer to like give you anything. You know what I mean? So it was just a shot in the dark, but I was thrilled when Mark was like, yeah, man, I gave him your number. And then you texted me. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. It was weird. Because, so when I was younger, I did like, after high school, I went to New York and did some like TV shows, and I was around some people where I was like, oh shit, that's Britney Spears. You know what I mean? Like this close.
Yeah.
And when you texted me, it wasn't not the same that you Britney Spears, but I was just like,
I get it, bro.
Fuck, dude, you know, like I matter a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's funny. Mark texted me, gave me your number, and the way he phrased it was like, hey, I think you and Jack would get along. You should reach out to him. It wasn't like, hey, Jack's looking for you.
All right.
But that same feeling that maybe you had. Clark Fredericks. Have you seen his?
So I watched parts of it after you told me about him. I didn't know anything about him.
So his crazy, right? And he went back and murdered his abuser. That's like the craziest part of it all, I think.
Which I respect.
Yeah,
I didn't, and I don't know that I even would have if I had the opportunity.
Right.
Because I don't think I'd make it in prison.
Right.
And I just feel like I'd be going through the same trauma that I was trying to escape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But when I met Clark, that's what I was like. I was like, oh my God, that's
in
Clark.
person?
Yeah.
How'd you meet him?
I went up and did his podcast in New Jersey.
Oh.
Yeah, I went up. He has a podcast in New Jersey, so I went up there and met him. And when I met him, I was like, because he's the first person I ever saw tell his story. And he's the first man that I'd ever seen. And he's like imposing. He's a big dude.
He looks big.
He's just like, he doesn't look like broken down like a shell of a man. You know, like he was like very confident and powerful. And so when I saw him tell his story, I was like, oh fuck, like this guy gets it. And that's why I was so excited to meet him. So I can understand and like I guess empathize with how you felt about all that.
It was cool. Yeah.
It is cool.
It just makes me feel like, I don't know, like that maybe this thing that I'm doing is working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw that you have a channel. So after I watched your interview, I just like clicked on your YouTube thing, and I think you like just had done something where you were sitting in a hotel room after you did either before or right after.
It was right after.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh cool, he has a channel. I don't know if you're continuing that or like what is your goal with that? Yeah,
I am, and it's kind of funny. I've seen your channel, so I was like, you know what? I was like, because I started a podcast and I still kind of have. I mean, I still have it. It's hard. I have got my hands in so many buckets right now. That one's not a priority, but I do. And so what I was doing is I was focused on trying to make it all look great. And reality, I kind of,
like production wise.
Yeah, I wanted to look great. And then I was like, you know what? Like, there's enough people that are paying attention where I'm just going to get on here and give an update every now and then. And that's what I even did it this morning. I set up my phone, recorded a little video just like this, and I'll just throw them up every now and then on like just little things that pop up in my head. That's kind of what I'm doing right now with YouTube. I like podcasts. I like having conversations. It's just hard. It's expensive, and it's a fucking whole system.
Yeah. I just set that, dude. I do it as raw dog as you could possibly get. I do it on my phone. I upload it from my phone.
Yeah.
I don't edit. I probably should. I'd probably have more success, but I just don't have time to do that, and I don't know how really.
Yeah.
But so you have a regular full-time job.
Yeah.
You just wrote a book that you were nice enough to bring me a copy of, and hopefully he'll sign it. Maybe we'll fucking cut our fingers. You can give me a blood thumper. So you wrote a book. You're working a regular job, and you go to these. You were telling me about. Was it a convention?
It was a conference. Yeah. So yeah, I'm traveling and speaking now as well.
And do you know way in advance when those things are taking place, or can you get a call and be like, "Hey, next week, do you mind coming by?"
They're not usually like a next week thing. Sometimes they can be, which is fine. Usually those aren't like big events. They're usually pretty something small, which is totally fine. The conferences, they're usually booked about 6 months in advance.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, dude. I would love. Although if it came time to actually speaking, I was gonna say I would love to do that. It's probably nerve-wracking. I mean, I wasn't like super nervous talking to Mark, but knowing that something, I feel like it's different at a conference or a convention. I feel like only the people there get the experience, but like Mark's lives on the internet forever. It's like a Broadway show as opposed to like a movie. You can go watch the movie whenever you want, but like for that week that those people do that Broadway show, only the people that attend get that. And some people like that better because it's like, so I feel like it would be super cool to do something like that. Or I've never attended one. Yeah. Have you ever attended one that you weren't putting on? Never?
No. Yeah. I mean, they're expensive to attend, first off. And then, they're usually for like professional type events or,
entrepreneurs and.
Well, the people that are in that profession. So you can have there's all kinds of conferences for all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And, the ones that I will speak at usually are going to be like something about behavioral health or trauma or something along those lines because that's where I come from. Yeah. So that's where my story resonates. But you can attend, I mean, there are conferences for fucking farming, and they talk about farming, so there's all kinds of shit. And you can go there and they're great. I mean, they're great to go to. They're just expensive. They're usually in the middle of the week because companies get paid to send their people to conferences and they can write it off. And they're not like they're not like a Saturday, Sunday thing. Yeah. They're always in the middle of the week, which makes it hard to go to them. If you want to go to one, you got to travel. It's just a whole ass thing. So that's why I've never gone to one. That just for no, just to attend. But they are cool. Speaking in person is cool. It's a lot more powerful, I think, than it is to watch a YouTube video. Although some videos you really get a good response out of. The hard part of it is nerve-wracking. So you have to have some mental kind of games that you play with yourself to get yourself ready. I tell myself like this is exciting now instead of like, hey, this is because it was probably 150 people in that room that I was talking to.
Scary.
Yeah, it can be, and I have in the past like stuttered and been shaken up there, but now I'm getting used to it more. But the hardest part for me is you always have naysayers in the crowd.
Of course.
Like even this last one that I did, I was handing out my business cards to all the tables before I got up there. And I was like, hey, I'm speaking next, da, 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 da. And I went up to this table of ladies and I said, hey, I'm speaking next. And there was a girl there who just like mean mugged the hell out of me. And I almost, even when I was on the plane coming out here, I was like, man, I wish I'd have fucking said something to her ass. Cause I was just like, what's your problem? Like,
you didn't ask?
Then I just, if I would have, I probably would have done something I regretted. So I just, yeah, I probably would have, so I just kind of was like, just killed her with kindness and said, hey, whatever, walked away. But I noticed when I was speaking too, she was sitting over there and she had her phone, like propped up and was like, just, I'm like in front of her and she's like scrolling through her phone. Yeah. And then she's like, she's got her head like all like she's bored as hell. Yeah. And so the thing is when you're speaking to people, you can't focus on the negative people out there. You got to look at the people there was 2 grown men in the crowd that were crying.
Yeah.
So I would
stick to the engaged.
Exactly. Stick to those people and you'll be good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's always those people.
Yeah.
I know. And I always focus on that too. I'll get a million nice comments and I'll see one that's like, fag. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's just like, and then I'm like, I'm not, but it hurts my feelings anyway. You know what I mean?
I was just talking to Mark about this before I left. I get a fucking lot of comments that are like some pretty fucked up comments.
Of course.
And they honestly, like, I think most of them are pretty funny. I actually legitimately think they're funny. If they're actually creative and funny, right?
Or witty. Yeah.
Right, witty, yeah. So there's some wit to them. I'm like, all right, good one, man.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that piss me off are the ones that say, somebody said I look like Sam from Game of Thrones. And Sam is this fucking fat, white fucking...
Oh, the one that was like... shut the door or whatever. No, that's not cool, dude.
I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And
dude.
so then another one said I looked like this guy, Nick Frost. And Nick Frost is, so I saw the name and I was like, oh, that sounds like a cool name. Like, it's probably a fucking, like, some cool ass actor or something.
Like Jon Snow.
Yeah, exactly.
But probably not.
No.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, so I look up Nick Frost, and Nick Frost, he played in Shaun of the Dead. Like, he was like,
okay.
He was like the fat
one
dude.
of the two main characters. Okay.
I was like, motherfucker, bro.
I mean, he's funny though.
He is funny, but like that's not the kind. Those are the comments that piss me off when somebody says I look like somebody, and it's always a fat white dude with a beard. I'm like, you fucking piece of shit. So, anyways, those are the ones that I'm like, oh, you bastards.
I get it. I thought. So when you were just about to, when you said, there's always the naysayers, I thought you were going to, it reminded me of my childhood. This will segue into what we should be talking about. When I was a kid, not a kid, 17 or whatever, when I finally said something to someone in my family about what was going on with my teacher, one of my cousins who had this same guy as a teacher before was like, how could you say shit about him like that? And it's like, you're my cousin, bro. You know what I mean? It's like my mom's sister's kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I thought I thought you were gonna say someone in the crowd was like, "Why are you lying, bro?" You know what I mean? Because like that. Today it's different. Stuff came out, but like at the time it was like, this is why I didn't fucking tell anybody, dude.
Yeah. Well, people. I mean, nowadays. I mean, anybody says anything negative on the comment or in the comment section, you got about 30 fucking. Usually women in there saying "fuck you," So he's not lying, and people would never say that in person. But that's people ask all the time, like, why didn't you report? Why didn't you say something? And for me specifically, because I got the full extent of sexual abuse, I guess. Yeah. The whole gamut, right? So. I mean, I was terrified of many things. I was scared people were going to call me gay. Of course. I was scared I had HIV or AIDS. I was scared of having diseases. You're just terrified of people finding out. I
was always afraid, what if I tell someone, they don't believe me, and then dude finds out.
Exactly.
Then what?
Exactly.
Am I dead?
Exactly.
Am I raped double as much?
Exactly.
Like, honestly, what happens then? Because this already sucks enough.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's it. And see, my abuser was 6'5", 6'6", 380 pounds. Big ass guy. Yeah. What's crazy?
And was he popular in the community?
So he ran a haunted house on Main Street in his hometown out of his mom's front porch. Okay. So
that was like a big deal?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I've gone back and asked kids. Now I go back and ask them like, hey, do y'all remember this haunted house in Bluffton? And they're like, yeah. Like one day it just stopped. And I was like,
oh, people don't know why?
Yeah, nobody knows why.
Oh wow.
And so I've gone back and explained that part, but there's a piece of my story that I really don't tell a whole lot because it's very long, and so this detail gets left out. I think it's in my book, but when I reported the guy,
I want to ask you about that too, but keep going.
Yeah, so the night prior, I was playing video games, and he was about to. He basically took another kid back in the bed with him.
I remember you was talking about that, yeah.
Right. That was the first time I had ever seen somebody else go back there. And so I messaged my other friend who introduced me to the guy like 6 years ago. We're playing the video game together. And I messaged him online and I said, hey, I got to talk to you tomorrow. And so all he says is okay. Well, Mondo comes out of the room like suddenly. It's almost like he had like a sixth sense. He like comes out of the room, walks over, and it wouldn't be uncommon for me to be playing that game and him to come over and say, who are you playing with? Yeah. And so he comes over and he says that. And there's like a little chat box. And so I scrolled up in the chat box so you couldn't see where I had messaged my friend. Yeah. And thankfully, my friend never says anything else. Because if he would have replied again, it would have reset the box. Right. Mondo would have seen it. He'd have been like...
the last few comments. Yeah.
He'd have been like, what the fuck's going on, With that being said, I think he did see me scrolling the chat because it was dark in his apartment. And I was like looking at a screen. So your peripheral is not there.
Yeah, he could have been there for 10 seconds.
Yeah. And so like... I kind of heard him, and so I scrolled up real quick. Well, anyways, the rest of the night, the whole vibe was off. And when I went home the next day, and knowing this guy for almost 6 years, he never, ever showed up unannounced. Never showed up to my house unannounced. Never. He dropped me off at my house. He took my younger friend home. He came back to my house. He's never done that ever.
So he knew something was up.
He knew something was up. And at this point, this was like a few hours after he dropped me off. And so We had already called the police, went to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
My grandma was at the house alone, and I'm at the hospital. My grandpa's in there, and my friend Jacob's in there with me.
Jacob's the one who you messaged.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
who was a little older than you? Who introduced you?
Yep. And he was also abused.
Yeah,
so that's why he was there with us.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I hear them say that Mondo's at the house, and I just fucking lost it. I came unglued because I was like, he's going to kill my grandma. Yeah. And honest to God, I think if I was at the house, I think that's what he was going to do. I think he was coming back to find out, because
if he could get to you before you got it to the police, he would have. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think what happened was when he dropped off my younger friend, we called that kid's parents at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Because they want to know who all was involved. And so they called that kid's parents, and I think that kid's parents were probably like, Seth's at the hospital, we got to go.
Yeah.
And, so I think, and these people that do this, they're very smart. They're very, very calculated. So if he's dropping the other kid off and all of a sudden Seth's at the hospital, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So he came back to my house. Big old long story, right? But to the point of like, what's going to happen if I report? I was terrified. I didn't want to say anything because Jacob was also Mondo's best friend, and so I'm like, Jacob's going to not believe me, then he's going to tell Mondo, and then Mondo's going to, so you have this fucking horrifying fear of it all.
Well, yeah, and I thought I was the only one.
Exactly.
So like
people say the same thing about me. They're like, Jacob knew what was happening. Why did he introduce you? And it's like he knew what was happening to him, but you would never. You just think you're the only one. You think there's no way in hell.
I was special.
You think that
whether in a good or a bad way, right. I thought I was special.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I thought the same thing. Like I brought my younger friend with me to that guy's house, and it was never going to happen to anybody else until he made a comment about that kid, and I was like, oh my God, he's about to fucking do it to him, which is the reason why I reported him.
Yeah, I remember hearing that part. Yeah, I remember, and it makes sense because I'm not the type to just like get in fist fights. Yeah. But if somebody's hurting my friend, I'll fight all day, dude. Yeah. But if it's me, I'm like, I can handle it. You know?
Exactly.
So I understand that. So I was what I wanted to ask you about when you reported it. I never got to, like go and be like, hey, this is fucking. Yep. So I just wondered like, and the reason I asked, so I'll preface it. So I was like, before anybody knew about what happened with me, and his name's Dace, before anybody knew, I was like, fine, like I played sports, had all the friends I could need. I had a girlfriend and stuff. But then, like, once people knew, and not many people knew, it was only my family. But once people knew, like, shit started to not be okay with it. It was almost like, even though whether I said it happened or didn't happen, it happened. But once I said that it happened, it was almost like, I don't know, something happened where I started to get super depressed. Like I wanted to hurt myself, and I started writing sad poetry, and like, but before I had said something, it wasn't like that. I was wondering if you had like either a positive or a negative effect from when you actually did finally say something happened.
So I was kind of like the opposite, whereas I was wanting to die, suicidal, all of those things before I said something.
Okay.
And as soon as I said something, I was like, all right, well, I guess that part of life is over. And I kind of just was like, I never went to therapy, never saw anybody. I just reported him. A month or two later, found out he got a 10-year sentence, and I just moved on with my life. Like, with that being said, what happened was I didn't process anything.
Yeah, I was going to say moved on with your life or just continued with life? Like, how long did it take before something happened?
So what happened, I reported him. I was almost 16 years old, about a month away.
Okay.
I didn't think it affected me at all until I was like 24, I think, 23, 24 years old.
Oh, wow. 8 years.
Now this whole time, well, here's the thing. This whole time it had affected me. I just didn't realize how it had.
Yeah.
And I say that because I became very hypersexual.
Okay.
Started hanging out with girls. Everything was about sex. I was very lucky I didn't do anything that was criminal, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was very pushy with girls. Every time I would text them or hang out with them, I was like, we gotta have sex. And I wasn't like aggressive. I just thought we were
needy.
We're supposed to have sex.
I've been doing this since I was 10.
Yeah,
this is what people do.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just had this incorrect association. So anyways, When I was like 23, 24 years old, I had just gotten back from Afghanistan, and the R. Kelly documentary had dropped.
Okay.
And I was watching that, and dude, it was like kind of triggering, I guess. I hate to say that I get triggered, but I think it was just, trigger is not the right word, but it was maybe eye-opening or enlightening, where I had seen R. Kelly talking about his past. Well, R. Kelly had been having sex with grown women since he was 10, 11, 12 years old. So, and not to defend him, but when it came...
It changes you,
dude.
It does.
When it came time when he was...
It's not defending
20, 25 years old, 30 years old, and he's having sex with these girls, he was doing what had been done to him, and I'm not, that's wrong, but I can understand why he thought it was right, or why he didn't understand the implications of what he was doing.
And he wasn't taught that's inappropriate. He was taught the opposite.
Just look at Hollywood and all the shit that happens with these people, right?
Yeah, the Diddy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. With all these fucking kids, there's something that happened to them. And so when I saw R. Kelly's documentary, I realized how fucked up I was. And the reason why was because my wife, for example, when she would want to have sex, she would she'd touch me, you know how it is. You start rubbing on somebody or whatever. And for me, if like you start touching me, I'd be like, wait a minute, like I don't.
Yep.
And especially if I wasn't in the mood, if I was tired.
Yeah, I need to initiate it.
Yeah, well, or she would. It'd be like, do you want a cup of water? And it's like, no. It's like, no, take it. No, here, just take it. It's like, I don't want it. It's like, no, drink the water. And it's the same thing as when I was being molested. It's like, I don't want it. And the guy's like, and he just keeps fighting, and he keeps touching you. Yeah. And so my wife unknowingly would do that, right? Just trying to get me in the mood. And I would just, I would have flashbacks so bad that when she would kiss me, I could taste the guy. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
And so
I would smell.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it wasn't there, but it was in my fucking brain.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, even if I wanted to do this, I can't.
Yeah.
Like my body's not going to let me.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to fight you.
Exactly.
Because I don't know what, you know what I mean?
And so when I watched the R. Kelly documentary, it opened up my eyes of like, oh my God, like this is why I was so aggressive with women. And then this is why, like, it just opened up my eyes. Like it opened up my eyes and with my intimacy with my wife. And it just, that's really when I was like, okay, I think that's probably when I started writing the book. But yeah, that helped me a lot. Understanding, just hearing somebody else talk about it, I was like, oh my God, it made a lot of sense.
The intimacy thing is for me weird because I don't know, like a girl could initiate with me multiple times in the same way and it's cool, and then one time they do the exact same thing and I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I'll be like, what are you doing? They're like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm doing the thing. And it's like, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
You're making me uncomfortable. And then they're like, well, you asshole.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't, for a long time, I just thought like, when I get that weird feeling, which was exactly how I felt early on in the grooming process, like when it was still like whoops, was that, did his hand just go too far or was that on purpose? I'm going to take it as it was an accident.
Yep.
Like way back then when it was like, oh, and like I'd get tense and freeze up. I wouldn't stop it, but I would pray that it would stop, but I would just freeze it. I would get that feeling and be like, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be like, I didn't have the wherewithal to be like, hey, I'm having flashbacks of when I was fucking abused and it has nothing to do with you. I'd just be like, hey, stop. And then they'd be like, what do you mean? And it took me a long time to understand, and I still deal with it sometimes, but it just took a long time for me to understand that it doesn't just go away. Because like I had to do a lot of work, So when my thing happened, I was in a very, when I was old, like with the teacher, I was in a very specific position. I was on my back on a bed with my hands tied, blindfolded. So for me to be able to lay on my back in a bed and get oral sex with my eyes closed took like a decade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when I was finally able to like allow it to happen, I was like, thank you so much. But then sometimes, even within the last couple of years, sometimes if it's a fucking full moon or, you know what I mean? Or like, there's like a scent of like vanilla lotion because that's what he was using to like rub on me. It's like all of a sudden I'm reverted and it's like, fuck, I thought I was over this, dude, and then it might take me a couple times. But now I'll be honest about it and be like, hey, I'm just fucking, my brain's being weird. It has nothing to do with you. But like, I don't fully like, it's not like, oh, okay, I fucking got that one on.
Right.
And I wish it were, like I wish I could like not be selfish anymore, or like have patience. It's like a fucking moment to moment thing. But I always wonder if other people go through that, or if some people are like in recovery. Like some people just get clean and they're clean the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And other people, like it took me so many times to like keep getting clean, and I just wonder if like I didn't know if you had the experience. Like, yeah, the day that I fucking told the cops that he was fucking with me, my life's been fucking money, and my relationships were great.
Yeah,
and I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the you with women thing, because not only did I think that it was. Stuff started happening to me when I was like super little, like at 4 or 5 years old. So I just assumed, because that was my reality, that everybody did that with family members. You know what I mean? Because it was like, because it happened all the time. So I was like, well, if this is happening all the time, it must be happening all the time with everybody. And so then not only was I trying to like, not only did I think it was common to be super sexual, hypersexual with girls once I started being with girls, but I also like, I don't know, thought that like, well, if I do this enough times with girls, maybe I'll forget about the times it happened with boys. You know what I mean? And so I was like playing this weird, trying to tip the scales to more women than boys. Common, you know what I mean? I didn't know. Is it? I don't.
That is very common. Yeah, that is a very common. I didn't experience that, but that is very common. I just.
Like if I get 1,000 blowjobs from women, I negate the 900 I got from dudes. You know what I mean? I don't think it works that way. But like as a young person, I was like, there will come a time where I just forget about the guy ones, and it's like, no, it's just a blowjob's a blowjob, dude.
It is very common. I never had that. I just wanted to get laid. I mean, I just wanted to have sex so bad. I wanted to experience it so bad that I was just not a good man towards women, just very, very rude, very, I mean, I was nice and kind and all those things, but just too touchy, aggressive, I mean, I would literally hang out with a girl for an hour and be like, oh, okay, well, it's time to have sex. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like I was like demanding. I just thought that's like, do you not want to do it? Like, why don't you want to do this?
Right. What's wrong with me?
Yeah. Exactly. So
I get it. Did you have a lot of, so I only know you from how you are now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Confident. And if you're not, you appear to be, but like, handsome, in shape guy. Like, do you still at all deal with insecurities not everyone has insecurities about life, but like, does any of the stuff still affect you from him specifically, like from those times? Like, do you ever feel, so like I've found myself questioning, like, if someone broke in the house right now and tried to sexually assault me, would I stop them? Because my track record says I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I wasn't an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't really, but sometimes I'll be like, no, fuck that, I'll kill him. But then other times I'm like, what proof do I have that I would do anything? Yeah,
so I don't know, maybe I don't know if insecurity is the right word, but I would say I have like, I think I'm going to get fired from work all the time. So like that's like a thing. And I'm like a top performer. Well, maybe not necessarily a top performer at the current position or current place I'm at, but I am a good employee. I do my job. I do it well. Everybody likes me, but I always feel like I'm going to get fired. I don't really have like.
I think that's an abandonment thing.
It is. Okay. That's probably more of a father wound than it is anything else. Okay. That's more of like probably because I have an affinity towards men. Like I just have an affinity of like, even like somebody like you, and like Mark and even my fucking boss, like the guy that I work with, who I've known for a year now, who has no other relation to me. I just have this affinity of like, I got to make this guy.
Yeah, I know you.
Like, and I always feel like
if make him proud.
If he's not happy, he's mad. It's like that's how you feel.
There's no in between.
There's no between, right? And then
And even if they're unhappy about something else, I must have done something wrong.
Exactly. And so like if he texts me and is like, hey, can you come to my office? I'm like, fuck, you know?
Here's the day I'm fired.
Yeah. And then I saw something recently too that was like, it was explained it very well, is that every interaction that we have, my next interaction is based on that last interaction. So if I come over and I'm like, hey, Jack, what's up, man? Whatever. And you're like, all right, bro, I'm busy today, you know, maybe tomorrow. Then I'm gonna be in my head like, oh fuck, like he doesn't want to talk to me no more, you know. And it's like, no, dude, I'm just fucking busy.
Yeah.
And so you know, it's like that. Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Yeah. Are you okay? You seem upset. Yeah. And so I do that to my wife all the time. You know? Oh yeah. And that's like that thing of like, you want to make sure you're like, are you sure you're okay? And it's like, bro, I'm fucking good. Back the fuck up. And I do that to people. Like even when my wife does it to me, I'm like, I am fine. Leave me alone. I'm fine. You know. Yeah. So I don't know if I have like any insecurities now. I mean, 10 months ago, yes. Before I started talking about it, 100%. I mean, I was fucking terrified.
You hadn't talked about this 10 months ago?
No, I just started talking about this.
Really?
The first time I ever talked about this with anybody was like February, March.
Of 2024?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I assumed.
And I did that in a room with 3 men.
The police officers?
No. Well, I mean, aside from reporting the guy,
yeah, but that's
you know, I reported, my family knows, my wife knew, but like nobody else knew. Like nobody ever knew anything ever. Oh. And so, like Seth has lived his whole life without anybody ever knowing this, basically. And earlier this year, basically what happened was my jiu-jitsu coach, he after jiu-jitsu practice, he would always talk about like, just fucking do the thing. It's never going to be perfect. And I was already writing the book at that point. And my plan was I was going to drop the book and it was going to be like, boom, like here's the tell-all. And like, Seth's had a crazy life. But I was having too much anxiety about that. I was like freaking the fuck out. Like people, when my book came out, people were going to be like, oh my God, he was sexually abused. He's gay. And so I was freaking the fuck out. So I was like, fuck.
It's not fun. It's funny to me because I know.
Yeah. So I was like panicking. And so I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to do this. And so my buddy has a couple cameras. Me and 3 other guys that do jiu-jitsu, we sat up in a room together, built out like a little studio, and I fucking for like 3-4 hours, it's on my YouTube channel, for like 3-4 hours, I tell my whole story, front to back. Yeah, and I was like shaking, fucking stuttering, couldn't keep a fucking steady thought. Yeah. I was freaking the fuck out. I cried like 4 or 5 times in that fucking video, like hard. And that was the first time I'd ever talked about it out loud. And I was in a room with 3 other fucking men who have known me for about a year.
Jiu-jitsu guys.
Jiu-jitsu guys.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, and who look at me like a combat veteran, fucking.
Because you are.
Yeah, and they look at me as like this man, and they had no fucking clue what we were going to talk about before we walked in that room.
Oh, really?
No, they had no clue. And so we sat down. They were just like, "What the fuck?" And like an hour or 2 in, I'm like, "Hey, am I doing all right?" And they were like, "Bro, what the fuck?" I mean, they couldn't believe it. They're like, what the fuck happened to you, you know? Yeah. So that was the first time I ever talked about it. And ever since that day, like, no shit. That day, I posted that video, and I was like, you know what? Cat's out of the bag. Seth got fucking molested, raped, all these other things when he was a kid, and now it is what it is. Ever since that day, no more insecurity. But before that, I mean, I just couldn't talk to. I mean, it's so hard to. I mean, it's still hard to talk to people. But there's somebody like you, I could probably sit here and talk to you all fucking day, just because we get it. We get each other.
Of course.
There's not like not this veil that's in between us.
No, it'd be like you talking to somebody about combat.
Exactly. You know,
I would have no idea what you're talking about, but they'd be like, oh yeah, the fucking, you know, oh yeah, that place in fucking
sure.
Iraq, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, even just conversation in general, like, you know, just getting in the car and talking with somebody is, for me, it's hard because, well, one, I don't have a filter, and so I have to like constantly police that because
I don't even bother, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's like the thing. It's like you feel like you're like not being yourself, you know, all the time. I feel like I'm always like impersonating somebody else. I feel like I'm trying to people please and like make everybody happy. So when I do have conversations with people, like they'll say something, and I have to pause before I reply because I'm like, maybe I don't want to piss this person off by being insensitive, you know, because I joke about my own situation, you know, and so as much as I'd love to do that, some people are like,
no, and I push
just don't get it.
dude.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Like
I mean, hell, I got in the car,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that was great.
And I was going to, what I was going to say was, do you need a massage? That's what I was going to ask you.
I'd say, yeah, if you got the blindfold, dude.
Yeah, okay.
So my buddy, like, some of my friends when I was younger knew, because, like, eventually, I, like, told some people, and
I didn't tell nobody.
Well, at first I didn't, but, like, I quit football as a senior.
Yeah, right.
And so all my buddies were like, the fuck, bro? You know what I mean? So eventually I'd be like, this is why. And so because I didn't want them to just think that I was fucking bouncing on them, dude, you know? But once people knew about it and stuff, if I hooked up with a new girl, they'd be like, how was it? Be like, I mean, I got better blowjobs in middle school. And they know that what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And I'm not being serious. And I probably shouldn't have been saying it, but it's like, that's fucking hilarious to me. Yeah. Dude. You know what I mean? I don't know if it should be or not.
Well, here's the thing. I think there's an interesting thing about laughing about your trauma, but here's where I think people get it messed up is some people can only joke about their trauma. Yeah. They can only laugh about it. Yeah. I think those people have not healed because they don't want to go to that place of like sincerity with it, right? Yeah. Where there, and like we were just talking about it a minute ago with some of the more serious things that we have, there is a seriousness to it. And if you can't go there, I think that there's an issue. Like you need to sort that out. Yeah. If you can joke about it, that's great. But if the only thing you can do is joke about your trauma, you have not. I just think that you have not processed it. And I say that because the day I realized this is going to maybe sound a little twisted, but I went up to New Jersey and I did a podcast with two guys. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys, during my story, he just kept joking about my trauma. He just kept, he wouldn't say anything. I don't recall him really saying a whole lot that was like real serious. He just kept poking jokes. And
about himself? About the story?
About me. Okay. And which I was fine with. But after about the third or fourth one, I picked up on what was happening. He was insecure.
Yeah, I was like, who hurt you, bro?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. And I don't mean to say this in a bad way. We get done with the interview. He shakes my hand. He gives me his phone number. He says, hey, man, if you need anything at all, you just call me. He's like, you are fucking incredible. Unbelievable story. I mean, seriously. So we get off camera and he's all serious now. And so, but when he was poking the jokes, I picked up on it. Like you said, like, who hurt you, you know? And he's got a pretty fucked up story. I mean, he was a cop for like 20 years. He's a retired cop. He's plenty of fucking trauma, right? Yeah. And especially first responders in combat, they get so cynical about it that, what's the fucking word? Desensitized or whatever. Yeah. That they joke about seeing dead babies and all this, but it's like, bro, if you see a dead baby or you have a call like that, you need to fucking process that. Here's why. Later that night, he goes home and fucking shoots himself.
This guy?
Yes.
That you did the podcast with?
Yes.
Really?
He's telling me, call me if you need anything, call me.
So he's really saying, help, please help.
Help me. Yeah. And it, dude, like the next day I get back home, I go to work and I get a fucking Instagram live from his co-host, and his co-host is like, Mike shot himself last night. Jesus. And I felt fucking horrible because I was sitting there while this guy was basically asking for help. And I didn't fucking, you know what's going crazy is I always text people when I'm done. I always text them later at night and I always say, hey man, thank you so much for having me on. I do too. And I was going to fucking text that guy and I didn't, I swear to God, and I didn't fucking text him. And I was just like, fuck man. Like now it took me about an hour to realize like there's nothing I could have done.
Of course not.
You know, it is what it is. But nonetheless, he was joking about it and he couldn't, I don't recall, I'd have to go back and watch the podcast, but I don't recall him really having a serious input to it. He had some questions that were serious, but he just kept poking jokes. And so that's what I mean when I say, like, you joke about your trauma, that's fine, but make sure you do understand, like, you do need to process it. You know, you do need to understand the implications and the effects of it.
I had to get to the point of being able to joke. Like, I was just so tired of talking about it and crying, and talking about it and crying, thinking about it and crying. Eventually it was like, I've done the crying, man. Like, I should be able to have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it was, I've been seeing fucking therapists since I was 17. You know, I'm 40. So I've been to enough. I didn't joke, I didn't joke about it, man, talk about it for forever. But eventually it's like, but I come from a family, Irish family from outside of Boston, Like, so during my addiction, and this isn't funny, but I would go and steal my grandmother's checkbook and write myself checks so that I could get money to buy drugs. Eventually, my family has an intervention. They find out they have an intervention. The first time I ever went to detox, I was 23. But anyway, fast forward, I get clean. I was clean for like 2 years. And so this was like 5 years ago. I go home for Christmas and I'm with my family, my uncles and aunts, and something happened. And my uncle was like, well, that's okay. If you can't afford it, you can just steal some checks from Bumma. And it was like, and it was funny, dude. And it was okay to be funny. Years ago, they were about to have me arrested for that same thing, but it's like through the therapy and working through it and proving that like I don't behave like that anymore. It's now like it's not funny, but it was. It can be.
And I'm not saying, like I said, man, I can joke with the fucking best of them. Trust me, I have no fucking problem. But I can see it too. Yeah. I can see when people are joking about something, and it's like, you're hurting, man. Yeah. I can see it in you. Yeah. You're hurting.
Because I've been you.
I've been there. Yeah. Like I get it, man. You're trying to like, you're trying to discount all this, especially first responders. You're trying to discount all this shit that you see and act like it doesn't affect you. Like,
how could it not?
It 100% does. And it's a vulnerability thing. It's a man thing. It's society. I think we're turning the tide on it finally, where people are going to start just, I need some help. Because even when I was in the military, I was fucking crazy. I was full on suicidal every single day, wanting to die. Like I would just think about it 24/7.
Because of your past?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just too much to handle, man. part of it too is like nobody knew what happened. So I was
going to say, were you afraid someone was going to find out?
No, it was just, I was living a lie. Because I couldn't be myself, right? I couldn't be myself. And so I was just living like, I just felt like everybody could look at me and like, we know you're lying about something. Or, you just feel weird. And so I just wanted to die all the time. And, but in the military, I think it's changing now. It certainly this was the case when I was in, was if you went and told somebody you had some problems, you were thinking about killing yourself, they fucking took your laces, took your weapon, put you in a fucking hospital, and you were othered. You were ostracized, kicked out of the unit. You could get kicked out of the fucking army in a heartbeat. I know that because I did it to guys, and I feel fucking horrible about it. Before we went to Afghanistan, one of my soldiers who needed money with his help with his money, I helped him with his money, and then we get ready to go to Afghanistan, and he says, I'm having mental health issues, I can't go. And you know what I did? I was like, what a fucking bitch. What a fucking pussy. And I fucking took this dude through the fucking ringer, talking shit about him. In reality, I was struggling just as bad, And so the military will punish you, or they used to, and some first responders and police units, they do the same thing. You have an officer who needs some fucking help. They take him off the field. They take him out of the game.
Unfit for duty.
Because he's fucking crazy. It's like, no, man, like just get the motherfucker some help.
Yeah, everybody's crazy. Yeah. This guy's just admitting it. Dude.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was my problem in the military, and I saw that with everybody. And like I said, I think it's changing now. I think they're doing better about all that stuff now. But fuck, dude, it's hard, man. It's hard to live like that.
Yeah, I can't. I always thought that people just knew. I thought when I walked in a room, everybody knew that something was off,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that I was like giving off some weird vibes, like some, I don't know. It wasn't true. Everybody thought I was great, but like, I don't know. What were you like in high school? And like because that happened, and then so you told people about it. Did you like act out a lot?
So I was a straight A student my whole educational career or whatever.
Okay.
Straight A student, very, very smart kid. I got into a lot of trouble. I got into a lot of fights. Got kicked out of class a lot. I was a smart ass. That was probably the most frustrating part for my teachers was I was so smart, but I would do everything I could to piss you off at the same time. Yeah. I slept through all my class. I was effortlessly smart. I just didn't pay attention, would sleep, I'd be the first one done with my test every time. And I always did that as a point of fuck you.
Yeah.
Where it was I didn't have to pay attention, didn't have to study. And I would finish my test in 5 minutes and they'd be like, there's no way you're done. I turned it in at like a 95%, you know?
Yeah.
So I was really, really, really smart. In high school, I was either the most loved or the most hated, depending on the crowd. All of the parents hated me because I was just who I was, and parents were a little bit smarter than kids, so they could see the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
The smart ass that I was. With that being said, there was a handful of families. There's about 2 or 3 families that for some reason they just loved me. And I think they knew something, like they could just see it in me that like, hey, that kid needs some fucking help. And so they helped me, and their kids were good kids. And there's a few people that defended me, and they knew that like Seth had a bad past. Because I could always tell people my mom was addicted and my mom was abusive. Okay. I could tell that part no problem. Like I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, that's not me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But I could never say anything else. And so people knew where I came from, so they had a little bit of sympathy for me for that. But I mean, I was a great kid. I just got into a lot of just ticky-tack kind of trouble and dumb shit.
Just like trying to be funny or just trying to irritate people.
Yeah, piss people off. I mean, we had a teacher my senior year that I basically bullied her until she cried. She was a young girl. I moved away, came back to the school, and when I came back, she was there. And I went to I had like 60 people in my graduating class.
That's it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
We had about 1,000 kids in our school, and it was a K through 12. Like kindergarten through high school, seniors were all in the same building, and it was about 1,000 kids.
What?
Very small. That was the country that the city I came from, typical city school, about 1,000 kids a class or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so when I went back out to school, like I just thought I ran shit, because I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted.
Yeah.
And
still get the grades.
Yeah, so I was just like, I was very arrogant and cocky. During my senior year, I was living with this girl, and her family took me in. My mom moved to Texas. My dad moved to Colorado. One of my cousins was murdered. And this was 2 years after I reported my abuser. And I was struggling bad. I had started partying a little bit, started smoking weed a little bit. And while those things weren't like terrible, they took me almost down a really bad path. Like I was, drinking and smoking. And then I just became like, didn't give a fuck about anything. And so the first half of my senior year, I got perfect grades. The last half, because I had done so well the first half, it would balance out no matter how bad I did. So I didn't give a fuck. I would show up to school in pajamas, would sleep all day. My final report card in high school was like straight D's and like 1 F.
But you made it.
I made it, graduated, did all the things. But yeah, I was very close to going down a bad path. So the military probably helped keep me out of that a little bit. So
yeah. And what do you think? What the hell was I just thinking about? It had to do with high school. So you never really got into drugs?
Never. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask.
Smoke some weed. That was it.
So was there ever a time where you sat down and told your mom about the stuff? Like, does she know?
Yes.
From you, or does she know from the internet?
The internet. We've never talked about it, I don't think. Like, not like deep.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. So my family is like, they're like social media addicts, I would say. Okay. To the point of
most of America is.
Yeah. Well, I mean that and this is probably true as well. They overshare like just dumb shit. You get mad at. My mom would get mad at my sisters, and so then they would get on Facebook and bitch at each other. Like, fuck you, bitch. Like, fuck you, no, fuck you. And it's just fucking dumb,
Yeah.
So they do a lot of that, which is the reason why I don't interact with them for that stuff. So, but earlier this year, my mom added me on Facebook again, and I've blocked and deleted her multiple times because she'll say stupid shit, and I'm like, all right, I'm not dealing with this. I don't even argue. I just block and delete.
Yeah.
So anyways, she added me again, and so I was like, okay. And I messaged her earlier this year, and I said, hey, I'm going to start telling my story. Obviously, you're a part of it, just so you know. And I'm just doing this to help other people. I'm not doing this to throw anybody under the bus. Yeah. I even wrote it in my book. This is not to settle scores. This is not to make somebody look bad. I don't hate my mom, even despite all the shit. And I told her all that, and surprisingly, she was like, oh, okay, that's fine, totally understand. Thank you for letting me know. And sure as shit, about a month or two ago, She made this big Facebook status about, our life wasn't that bad, and things weren't that bad, and this and that, and like talked a bunch of shit about me. So blocked and deleted her again, and that'll be about I don't know if we'll ever have another conversation. I haven't seen her in several years. She's never met my kids.
How old are your kids?
6 and 4.
Hell yeah. My son's 6.
Yeah.
That's a great age.
Yeah. So we've never talked about it ever, really. And I've never talked about it with my father either.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still talk to your dad?
No.
No?
Not really. He reached out to me recently. I talked to him, like, he doesn't get caught up in, like, partially because he's probably too fucking old, and like he don't give a fuck about social media.
Yeah.
So he like gets on there just to talk to me,
Yeah.
So he's but he spent most of my life in prison.
Oh, okay.
He almost killed my mom when I was
I remember that story. Yeah.
So me and my dad, we haven't seen each other in several years either. We have not talked about anything in depth. We have a weird relationship, I would say. I mean, we don't really have one, but, I'm open to go and seeing them. It's just I don't want to put myself around that environment. I just don't trust it.
Yeah.
If it's not.
I mean, what's the best case scenario if you put yourself in that,
Exactly. Yeah.
Best case scenario, you leave a little unscathed.
Yeah.
Worst case, who knows?
Right.
It's not like best case, we go and we rekindle this relationship that's been fractured. It's like.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone too far at this point, unfortunately. I mean, I'd love to have a relationship with my parents, but it's just not going to happen.
It's a human instinct,
yeah.
But I mean, now you have your own kids to worry about, and it's like,
exactly,
Yeah. Do you feel like living, having lived as you did, do you feel like it still affects you? Like, I remember you telling me through text, you're like, yeah, I tried to get my wife to leave me so many times. Like, is that like a current thing? Okay.
No. Ever since I started talking about it, I've kind of grown out of that. I have a buddy who does like men's coaching. He's got his own story to tell. He's public about, but his name's George Hayworth. He runs a podcast. I met him. It's kind of funny. I went out and did his podcast thinking that like we would interact and then that'd be the end of it and go home and whatever. And now this guy's like basically a weekly, if not daily mentor of mine.
Really?
Yeah. Great fucking guy. And he has a whole like framework and curriculum about like authentic masculinity and how to be a man and what it really means to do certain things. And part of that is being a lover.
Yeah.
And one day we're having a conversation and I'm telling him about my marriage. And I'm like, man, I don't know why. I can't go home and love my wife. I can't give her hugs. I can't be affectionate with her. Like, I just feel fucking sick about it. And so he told me, he's like, Seth, he's like, you're such a hard ass that you can run ultra marathons. You can run 100 miles. You can write a fucking book. You're a combat veteran. You do jiu-jitsu. Like, you're fucking tough and we get it. Like, we get it. You're a fucking man. You're a warrior, right? He's like, how come you can't be so fucking tough to go home and love your wife? And when he said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, God damn.
Yeah, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I said, roger that.
You're right, dude.
So I went home and like I couldn't text my wife. Like, when I would go to work, I wouldn't text her. She would text me and I wouldn't fucking respond to her. Or I would just be so short. I couldn't say like LOL or like, I couldn't have any inclination that I want to talk to you. Like, think about that. Like with your wife.
Why?
Just that affection, the affection, man. I didn't want to be affectionate with. It was like to love somebody so much. It doesn't feel like maybe deserving. You don't feel right. My wife comes from a really good family. She's fucking attractive. So like there's these things that's like you just don't feel deserving, so you want to ruin it.
Okay.
Okay. And so but anyways, I started texting my wife, which is like a weird thing to say. Like that's progress in your marriage. It's like, bro, like you don't like this is progress, so texting her, complimenting her, and then like, the next day she like made my lunch and wrote out the macros and threw it in the fridge for me. Yeah. And I sent a picture of that to my buddy George. Yeah. And I was like, hey man, I guess this shit fucking works. You know,
and what a couple simple texts will do. Dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I said to him. Yeah. That was about 10 months ago. And, about 10 months ago. And my marriage has been like 180 ever since, you know. Yeah. Last year, probably, I think maybe 16 months ago, I was the last time I asked my wife for a divorce. I said, I can't do this anymore. I remember sitting in the driveway telling her, like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I drove, and then I drove off, and I went to the fucking gym for fucking 3 hours and didn't talk to her. And she texted me before I walked in the gym and said, you know, I need to know. And I didn't answer her, you know. And I had this hate bucket for her, and everything she did went right into the hate bucket because I wanted to hate her so bad because I didn't. And it hurts to know that, like, and she, for no fucking idea why, just refused to leave. And here we are. We're like, I think we've been together for like 9 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been married for about 8.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
So, but my buddy George helped me get through all of that. And so he's, like I said, he's a mentor of mine now. And he's just he's just smart and honest. And the way he explains things, you know, I treated my wife like a soldier. I treated her like a man. I wanted her to be a man. And, you know, I talked about it today as well with, like, she'd get all dressed up, right? Mm-hmm. And women want to be chased. They want to be desired. That's just, it's in their nature, yes. Right? And as a man, you've got to give her the chase. Yeah. You just do. If you want that girl and you want her to feel good, you should, as a man, you should want your woman to feel great, right? So part of that is giving her that chase. Let her know, like, I see you over there. Yeah. Like, hey, you look fucking good. Yeah. Like, all right. Like, or if you're out eating dinner, it's like, let's head back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you know,
make them feel desired.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I knew that women wanted that, and so I wouldn't do it. My wife would get dressed up. She'd walk out in front of me, and I'd be like, what do you fucking want? You know, like, not literally. I wouldn't say it out loud. But I wouldn't give her that attention. I wouldn't give her the compliments. I wouldn't touch her. Wouldn't feel her up, or I wouldn't do any of that because I knew she wanted it, and I knew if I didn't do it, it would hurt her, and it felt good to hurt her. It felt good to be like, yeah, you see how much control I have over you, and like I was borderline, if not domestically abusing my wife.
I was just gonna say, some people would call it abuse.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would. You could very much justify that as emotional abuse, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
and it fucking hurts to know that I did that. But I'm glad. Like, I talk about this a lot now because this is like my new thing to talk about because I just learned about this recently, and I think it's really cool because a lot of times when you see the domestic violence talks, you hear it from the woman's perspective and the woman's perspective only. Yeah. You almost never, I don't know anybody else who has ever talked about this publicly that says, like, I treated my wife like shit and now I've learned about it and now I want to help other men recognize it because I want to go and talk to other young men and be like, hey man, just so you know, this is how you treat a woman. And if you don't think you could do that, I want you to figure out why you can't, you know? Yeah. And if you can't, then don't be involved.
Yeah, leave her alone.
Leave her alone. So,
but the good news is everyone's capable of loving.
Yeah.
You just got to be taught, you know? I was taught as a young kid, like, I was taught the wrong things. Like, not so, my family taught me the right things, but like society, like, boys don't cry. You know, like, I was supposed to dress a certain way to attract girls. I was supposed to, like, if I liked a girl, not let them know and play cool. And it's like, I was given false information, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I didn't know. Yeah. I was just working with what I got. Yeah. But now getting older for sure sucks, but it's really cool, like, learning stuff through experience. And, like, you know, so I could, if I talk to a high school kid or a middle school kid now, it'd be like, you know, like, these people, like, your status in this place doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. But I remember being young and older dudes being like, this shit don't matter. And I'd be like, you obviously were lame. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's just crazy how you have to, just with age, it's just, you learn things. And I'm probably going to tell my son when he gets to that age, like, when a girl leaves him, it's like, you can do better or whatever, you know. and they're not going to believe me because it's just I didn't believe who told me. You know what I mean? Chris Herron, who was a Celtics player who was addicted to heroin, either came into my high school or my middle school and told us about like, you know, this is where I've been, this is what happened. And I remember thinking like, fucking loser, dude, I would never do that. And I'm a junk, and I turned out to be, I just should have listened, dude. I don't know if it would have changed anything, but I just remember being like, you know, what are you doing in middle school? Talking to kids about fucking using heroin, dude. Like, get a life. But now it's like, I wish I could hear him talk now. His story's amazing. He did an ESPN 30 for 30. It's unreal. And I know, because I've been asked by a couple people back home where I'm from, like, hey, would you come speak at like the old high school I went to, or would you come speak at the college I work at? And it's like, I would love to, but at the same time, I just feel like I know what those kids are going to be thinking. Like, when's this going to be over, dude? Or I assume, you know, like.
Yeah. Now there will be.
Of course.
There will be, right?
Yeah.
It's just, there's one fucking kid in there who needs you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that right now. I'm just telling you. There was somebody you needed, right?
Yeah.
There was one person that fucking needs you, man. I'm telling you. Like, the conference I just spoke at, there was that, when I got done, there was one person in that room who I knew needed me. There was multiple. I've gotten multiple responses, but there was one, this fucking man walked up to me, big ass dude, big black dude, gold teeth, beard, neck tattoos, hand tattoos. He was in a suit. He looked good, dressed well. But he walked up to me, shook his fucking hand, and he just broke down. And this guy's probably 40, 50, 60 years old, somewhere in there. He's old.
Yeah.
And he or older than me. I'm only 30. And he fell apart right there. And I fucking pulled him in, give him a hug, and I'm holding him. And this guy's crying on my shoulder, thanking me. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's
the shit, dude.
The average age of reporting is 53. Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. I just thought people don't report it.
Yeah. Average age of reporting is 53. So this man probably lived his whole fucking life and has never told a soul what's happened to him. And he told me, he said, one day I hope I'm strong enough to tell my story the way that you do.
I've been told that, yeah.
Yeah. And
I just want to be like, just say it, just talk. You know what I mean? Like, just
it's
do
hard,
it.
man. It's hard.
People have asked me, how did you get to where, like, how did you finally talk? It's like, I don't know, man. Just start talking.
Yeah.
You know, just start talking.
And imagine being, you know, from that demographic, right, in Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah. And the gangs and the violence. Why do you think all those kids are out there, man? Like, they have all got a past. And this man, it probably has a past. He's got some shit. And he's this big ass fucking tough, tatted up, fucking rough and tough dude. And something happened to him, man. And like, imagine that, you know. You know, it's just as bad in black households as it is white households.
As Asian, as
exactly, right? It's all the same. But
boys, girls.
There is a added pressure for a young black man.
Culturally, yeah.
It just is. Yeah. You know,
Hispanic males too.
Yeah. You know, and that's so
unfair. Dude.
It's just fucked up that we can't even. Yeah, it just sucks, man. It sucks for those people that have to that they don't. I mean, they live their lives like that, stuck in their pain and suffering. I mean, Clark Fredericks, the guy we talked about earlier. He didn't tell anybody. He never told a fucking person what happened to him. Never.
Until he killed him?
Until he killed the fucking guy. 30 years fucking later.
Dude.
And then when he went on trial, he, you know, explains why he did what he did. And not only did it happen to Clark, but it happened to his older brother, you know?
Same guy?
Well, yeah. Okay. And the same guy raped and molested. That same guy, Dennis Pegg, and from Stillwater, New Jersey, is credited for like hundreds of addiction cases, you know, several suicides, all kinds of people that he has ruined hundreds of lives. That one man, he would take boys home and rape them and all these other things. And everybody knew about it, but nobody had any proof. And so Clark was like the first one. And so then he had to out his brother when he was going to trial, because he had to explain, like, this guy fucking did it to me and my brother. And then Clark gets, you know, luckily he got a 5-year sentence. He was facing life.
That's it? Wow.
I think he got a 5-year sentence. He was facing life, gets a 5-year sentence, gets out. And then within the year of him getting out, his brother kills himself. Oh, you know? And like, there's that pressure of like this is why you don't talk about it, man. Like, because people, you know.
We should be able to talk about anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about anything that we want. It's just, I wish people knew that it was okay. I wish I knew that it was okay when I was younger.
You know, and people talk about like accountability. I talked about this yesterday at the conference. People talk about like accountability and like holding somebody accountable and like.
In what way?
Like especially children, young children, right? They're doing dumb shit, or maybe even you when you were addicted. It's like, look at this fucking addict. Like, look at this fucking junkie. Look at this fucking loser. And it's like, this motherfucker has no responsibility. And it's like, if you only knew.
Right. I don't want to be behaving like
why this person's acting this way. And so people always say that, and they don't ever ask like what happened to that person. You know, what is making that person think that this is okay? And the people that are always asking for accountability of others lack it themselves, you know? And it's like you fucking sit in your fucking high chair with everything that you've ever wanted to be given to you, and you ask for other people to be held accountable. Yeah. It's like, why don't you fucking hold yourself accountable and maybe, I don't know, read a fucking book, learn some empathy, and help some people out, you know?
I know. It's so hard though, dude. Yeah, like, because I know, like I was, I've done terrible things. What time is it?
6. Okay. I was just getting a call, so I was hanging up.
I can never know what time it is.
Yeah.
So
is this thing still recording?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
I do the same thing, and sometimes my shit will shut off. I'm like, oh fuck.
Really? This is 15.
What's that mean?
iPhone 15. I don't know. It's like not the newest one, but it's like the one.
That's what I have.
Oh, and it dies quick like that?
Well, no, it doesn't die, but it just memory.
Oh. I don't know, 256 gigs. I pay for like extra cloud storage. Okay. I don't know. It's white privilege stuff.
Yeah. Well,
you should know about that.
I've recorded podcasts like this and gone and checked it, and I only got like an hour.
Halfway through.
Oh yeah,
really?
Cuts off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Fuck. I mean, I also have to put on Do Not Disturb so I don't get a call.
Yeah, same.
But the accountability thing, dude, it's tough because I have family members who are like, they should hold drug dealers. They should go to jail for murder, and it's like, I would have got it from someone else, dude. Like, are you gonna kill all the drug dealers because they're all murderers? Like, you think they want their customers to die? The people paying their fucking like. But I did a lot of stuff that, I mean, if I got what I deserved, I'd be in prison. I wouldn't be sitting here. But and like, I agree with people should be held accountable. But like, I've been that person that should have been held accountable.
There should be empathy with accountability. That's what I'm saying.
Of course.
You should be able to understand why that person is the way that they are. And like
Clark Fredericks should not have gone to prison.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I agree to an extent.
In the eyes of God, do you take a life? No, but I mean, it's who are we to say, really?
So there's I mean,
because you can't take a life, but that guy took his life. He just had to live. Yeah. He lived on, which might be harder.
That's the unfortunate nature of it, because if we get to the point of saying this person doesn't deserve prison because they did something wrong, but the wrong was justified, well, then you get into a whole nother level of like bullshit, gray area,
they would
right?
Become terrorists. Dude.
Yeah. So
well, I did it because I love God. No, dude. God doesn't want you doing that.
So, like I said, accountability with empathy, right? If we can understand, like, if we can at least be like, okay, I get why you did this. It's like my fucking kids. I hold my kids accountable for what they do. Now, I understand they're fucking 4 and 6. I'm sorry, but look, you did some bad shit. I got to whoop your ass. I'm sorry. Like, I got to give you a little spanking on the butt. And you know what I do? Is I fucking love them, and I hold them and I hug them, and I say, hey, I get it. I'm not mad at you. I understand you didn't understand, or maybe you didn't think I was serious, or you didn't understand the serious of the implications of what you were doing. Yeah. Which is the reason why this happened. You get a little punishment, timeout, or spanking on the butt, whatever it is. There's an empathy with them. It's the same thing to children as they get older. There are so many children that, I mean, they end up in juvenile detention centers, and people just automatically discount them, and they're like, "Yep, this kid's a fucking trouble child. Leave him alone. He's a lost cause." And the people that are paid to fucking fix them are paid, the average salary of a social worker is $60,000, okay? America spends $190 billion on cancer every year, to treat cancer. They spend $390 billion every year to treat heart disease. We spend over $14 trillion fixing the effects of childhood trauma, neglect, and abuse. Jeez. Childhood trauma, it is the leading public health cost in America. Over $14 trillion every single year is spent. And we pay people a shit ass salary to try to fix these kids.
Yeah.
And
expect them to do the best that they possibly can.
Yeah, the schools are underpaid. The police departments are every social service that we have, because they're state and government funded or whatever, they're massively underpaid and underfunded. Even in here, look at fucking LA, all the people that need help, and you go down the fucking road and you got this, like, I don't even know what SoFi Stadium. Yeah. It's like, you motherfuckers. Yeah. Like, you're building this fucking big stadium and you don't want to fucking help these people out. Yeah. They need fucking help, man. And the thing is it keeps perpetuating. I had a situation that I was able to come out of. You had a situation you were able to come out of. What do you tell a girl who's selling her body when she's 8, 19 years old? How do you recover from that? Like, I don't fucking know.
I don't either, dude.
You know?
My cousin was like that. And it was like, so when I was back home using, I had a cousin. I was in my I was in my late 20s, and she was young, dude. She was late teens, early 20s, and she was into the same drugs I was, and I didn't know how to help her. Like, I couldn't give her a place to stay. If I could have, I would have, but if I had drugs, I'd share them with her, because it was like, and should I be sharing heroin with family members? No, but like, in my mind, it was like, well, at least she won't have to fucking maybe get raped or beaten in order to get high. I'll just get high with her.
Sure.
And was it the right thing to do? I don't know. But like, the tools I had at the time, that was the best I could do for her. And like, so I don't regret it. She died of an overdose last year. Like, she was just she just was hurting on the inside, never talked to anybody. You know what I mean? But it was like, that was what I could do. So I did what I could do. Because it's like, we know how much it sucks to have it done to have stuff done when you don't want it done. But imagine knowing you're gonna fucking hate it. Yeah. But going to being like, hey, I'm up for a molestation. Like, it's like, I have to go ask for that. Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just to think about that. I can't imagine being in a position where it's like, I'm gonna go ask for the worst thing possible. You know, it's one thing to deal with it, but how do you like fucking love yourself later, knowing that you asked for it?
Yeah.
I mean, I did stuff early in my childhood with like incestuous stuff, because like I was a little young boy, like our kid's age, and I didn't know, and like things felt good, and I knew my cousin loved me, and so like we love each other, and this feels good. Like, you know, I didn't know that there was anything like wrong with that. But it's just later on with the teacher, all that stuff was unwanted. Although my body reacted like I enjoyed it. And, you know, I kind of had to pretend like I didn't know it was him. So I had to like kind of pretend to be into it. But it was like, I never asked for that. I can't imagine. And it was hard enough to get over it not asking for it. I can't imagine asking for it and then somehow trying to trick my brain to be like, I didn't ask for that. It's like, I don't know I don't know. Like, it's hard enough. What we went through was hard enough, and we didn't, and we would have I would have done anything to have it stop. But to like, ask for it, I can't imagine the mental anguish to come out of that. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah, man, I'm on the same page. I think there's a level of empathy that you have when you've been through some shit where you can just, you know, you wouldn't give up your worst day for anybody else's,
No.
you know, because it's like, you just don't know the other devil, you know the one, and you're okay with that one, but this other one, like I don't know what, you know, it's like being married and looking at another girl,
which
like,
everyone does.
Everyone does, right? I mean, I was in the airport, was it last night, and I was walking out to go to the shuttle, and I saw this girl. She was attractive. She's in front of me, and it's kind of funny. She was like, just fucking, I could just tell she was a fucking idiot. Like, she was talking on the phone, and I was just like, God damn. I'm like, bro, I'm so glad I'm married and that I have the wife that I have, even though she pisses me off sometimes, and even though whatever, even though she's not, you know, this fucking fake Instagram model or whatever, she's fucking hot, she pisses me off, but I would much rather have her problems than I would any of these other fucking dumbass girls. But I say that jokingly, obviously, well, to the point of not knowing or understanding. I mean, people like people that are going through some hard times, to get their drugs, and they go and do shit. I mean, when my mom was taken away from me at 12 and I moved in with my grandparents, my sisters, they lived with us for like a week or two, and then they went back to my grandma or my mom. They went back with my mom, and you know, my mom was taking my sisters to dealers' houses, and they would clean their whole house, or my mom would, I don't know if she was having sex with them or not, but they would like do these favors for these guys so that she could get her fix, take care of the house, clean the dish, do the dishes, whatever, so they could get a warm meal and some drugs.
Yeah.
And I mean, imagine having an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old with you, and that's what you're doing with your kids, you know, or 5, 6, 7 years old, and like, oh man,
I would never. I can't say I would never, you know, because I did things for drugs that, you know, but I can't, you know, being clean and having my son. I remember getting high when I was younger. There was this kid that would get high with us. He had like a toddler. She might have been 18 months or 2 years old, and she was hanging out. And the dude's smoking Oxycontin off a tinfoil, and she's sitting on his lap, and he lights her hair on fire by accident. Christ. And bro moves his hand and is like giggling, and we had to put her hair out, dude, because he was just fucked up and looking and it's like, dude, it's fucking wild. The kid was like 18. He had no business having a kid, but he had the kid. You know what I mean? And it was like,
oh, dude, I mean, think about that fucking kid, dude. Like, if that don't make you fucking sick to your stomach, dude, like that's what I think about. Like I see all of these kids that need help, then they go to the foster care system. The foster care system's fucked. You know, over 70% of those kids are sexually trafficked or abused at some point in their life. And I mean, there's all these people that need help, and it all starts with kids, right? Adults, I think there's something to do, but a lot of it starts with the kids, man, and the adults that are single parents. Like, we got to provide them with the right resources, the ones that already are. I mean, there's a lot of issues with that. I think that if people know that they can get money because they have kids, and they start having kids, and they're abusing
people
the system.
People are always going to find loophole. There's always
So I think with kids though, like especially that kind of situation, man, it's like people don't realize like how detrimental that is for that little girl. And you're probably, I don't know what time of the day it was, but like when I go out in public and I see people out with their kids at, I don't know, fucking midnight, it's like that little motherfucker needs some sleep, man. Like, stop bringing him to the fucking... My
son's in bed at 9.
Yes, 8, 9, yeah, dude. Like, people will take their kids to parties, and they'll be at the parties until 11, 12 o'clock, midnight, and like that. It's not... I mean, maybe once in a while it's probably not horrible, but like...
A family party, maybe, where there's other kids.
Well, even like going to a restaurant, here's what happens, is people have kids and they say, I'm not going to let my kids hold me back. And so then they subject their child to fucking basically neglect.
Casey Anthony, dude.
Yeah.
Remember her?
Yeah.
That's what she would fucking feed her daughter NyQuil and Xanax and put her to sleep so she could go to the club. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you gave up the right to go to the club when you like.
And that's, dude, that is what it is. Like, you got a fucking kid. Like me and my wife and our kids, we don't like go anywhere that's going to be detrimental for our kids, because and people will be like, oh, they're resilient, they can get over it, they're tough, and it's like, no, they're fucking not. In fact, they're not resilient, they're malleable. You know what that means? They will fucking bend and twist.
Yeah, you can mold them to whatever environment they're in.
Yes, dude, and it's just fucking heartbreaking, man. It all starts with the parents. You know, parents are doing shit to their kids that's not right. It's not okay. They're not raising them right, and that maybe is due to their own upbringing. I totally understand. There's where that empathy is. I understand that, but okay, we understand that now. Now you need to fix yourself. Like now we need to do better.
Understanding's not enough.
Exactly.
I understood that I was an addict a long time ago too. It didn't make me clean. Yeah. You know what I mean? There was a lot of work that had to go into it.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more. Like, I wish there was something that I could do to like actually help kids and like know that it's making an impact. Yeah, dude, kids, I mean, they're fucking innocent, dude.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And I never liked kids. Dude, you know what I wonder? I wanted to ask you, because there was this thing. So I remember after, in my early 20s and all throughout my 20s, I would intentionally stay away from children. Like at all, not like, you know, I wasn't like a vampire not going out at night, but I would just like, if my family had a baby and they were like, oh, look at a newborn, I wouldn't hold it. I just like would get away from kids, and because it felt like I had this weird thing in my head that I thought that like one day, against my will, without my knowing, my brain was going to change and it was going to snap into a predator, just because it happened to me. You know what I mean? And so if that's going to happen, as long as I'm not near kids, everyone will be safe. So I'm just going to stay away from kids. Not that like I never did I find little boys attractive or little, you know what I mean? But I just thought, because like I'd watch documentaries or like see people that went to prison for it, and they're like, well, it happened to me when I was a kid, and all of a sudden I just really wanted it. I couldn't control myself. So I'm like, fuck, what if this just kicks in and I can't control myself, which is fucking retarded. And I'm not supposed to say that on the internet, but
it's okay.
But for a long time I lived with that, and I personally had to like kind of, I knew I liked girls. Like in my late teens, I was like, I know I like girls, but like the stuff, with family members early on in my life, and then with the teacher, even though I didn't want it to happen, like my body reacted. So like I kind of explored a little bit to see, because I had to know. It was like, well, I know like I like girls a lot. What if I like dudes more than this? Because I like girls a lot. Do you know what I mean? I just had to know. So then I tried, and I was like, no, I was wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, at least then I knew it wasn't like the worst thing that ever happened. But it was just like, okay, I like girls for sure.
Yeah.
Did you ever like struggle with either one of those?
I never struggled with my sexuality, like at all. Like I was like 100% like, do not like this shit at all. Don't ever want to do anything with guys. With kids, I've never had a problem with kids. I can empathize. I understand where you're at in your head. I can imagine that people probably have some sort of, Seth is, whatever. He's got a couple. Actually, in fact, somebody commented on one of the videos. I don't know if it was one of Mark's or another one. Said, you have 2 kids. You need to control yourself because you know what happens if you don't, or something like that. It's like if you start to have thoughts, you need to go and kill yourself. It said something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Well, anyways,
that's educated.
Yeah. So I've never had any like fear of kids or like not. I've always loved kids. I mean, I would have 100 fucking kids. I just don't like babies. I don't like the baby phase. The first year, I'm good, but like
they're useless, dude. They just need their mom. They don't even need me.
Yeah, they fucking scream and cry, and they keep me up, and they fucking piss me off. So no, I love kids, and I would, like I said, I actually plan to adopt or foster. I want to do that for a lot of kids. I'd love to have a bigger home to be able to do more of those things. So maybe in the future, but I'll tell you, Jacob, the other kid in my story, we're still connected.
Yeah.
When I had my kids, went to go, hang out with him and show him. I don't know if this was what it was related to or what, but he was like, don't want to hold him.
Really?
Don't want to touch him. Don't want to. He had, and it actually pissed me off. Like I was offended. I was to the point of like, this is my fucking daughter. Yeah. Like, hey, like I want you to be proud of me. You know.
Yeah.
Jacob was a big deal to me, and so I wanted him to be proud of me. And he just, due to what happened to us, he couldn't be affectionate, right? So for him to be affectionate towards my daughter, it would show this. He was dealing with the same things towards me and my family that I was towards my wife.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where I couldn't be affectionate towards her. Jacob couldn't be affectionate towards me as a man. Just be like, I love you, or hey, I'm proud of you. He couldn't do any of those things. And to be quite honest, to this day, it's rather lacking still. Really? And we've had conversations about it where I've been like, hey, man, I think you could be a little bit more, it would mean a lot to me if you would just respect me a little bit more around your friends or whatever, Yeah. So he was like that towards my daughter, and I think that he's got a couple kids now, and even when he was when his kids were on the way, he was terrified.
Yeah.
He would have some pretty dark conversations of like, I don't think I want this, and I don't want to do this, and totally understand. But I told him, I said, look, man, like you're about to have a son. And that fucking kid needs you, needs you more than you realize. I want you to know that. And now, he's got a second child now. And we were talking recently, and he told me, he was hanging out with his son, and like he loves his son, and he spends all day with him, and he's just basically infatuated with him. which was really encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
You know, because when he was telling me he didn't want the child, I'm like, bro,
too late, bud.
Too late. You know,
smarten up, man. Like, learn to love the kid. Like,
yeah, and I told him that. I said,
the kid deserves love.
I told him that. I said, man, that that love for a child is, if you let it do what it's supposed to do, man, I'll tell you what, dude. My fucking kids, I can fucking hold them and fucking kiss them and hug them. I do it every single day. I hold them, love them, kiss them, tell them how proud of them I am, and just love them so fucking hard that they never question it ever that their daddy didn't love them. You know, so I've never had that not a negative relationship with kids at all.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I spoke to one other person who was I interviewed him, young kid Lucas, who on camera when I told him I felt that way, he was like, "Man, you got balls. I would never say that shit, but I felt it." And I was like, "All right, so you said it." You know what I mean? I didn't know if it was like a more common thing that like I don't know. I thought like I was gonna turn into a werewolf. You know, like I wasn't gonna be able to control. If it's a full moon, I'm a werewolf all of a sudden. You know, I just thought that maybe this thing was gonna kick in. I just wasn't educated on it.
Well, and I mean, see, I don't have that towards kids, but with that being said, everything that happens to kids, or every time I'm around kids, I feel terrible for most kids because I see how bad their parents treat them, in public and especially. But so example would be like my son who is 4. We had his birthday party earlier this year, and we invited kids from his preschool. So his preschool teachers also showed up. Okay. In the South, it's very common to kiss kids.
Okay. I kiss my son.
Well, no, other people, like random people pick up and kiss your kid.
Oh, okay.
And that's like very common in the South. And we're at the birthday party, and his teacher picks him up and gives him a kiss on the cheek, and I'm not okay with that. And so I was like, oh, man, we don't do that. And so I kind of was like, all right. Well, towards the end of the birthday party, I knew it was going to happen again. I knew it. And so sure shit.
To say goodbye, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so she goes to say goodbye. She picks him up in front of a crowd of people. Boom, gives him a big-ass kiss on the fucking side of his face. And all I did is I reached out and said, hey, don't ever kiss my kids again. I said, and I wasn't rude. I just said, do not kiss my kids. I wasn't yelling. I was very calm. I was quiet. I wasn't trying to embarrass her. But it needed to be addressed. Yeah. I didn't give a fuck who's around. That's my fucking kid. And you're not going to do something to them that I'm not okay with. Right. And so so I did that. She says, okay. She gives him another kiss. She thought I was joking. Understandably, I can see where because
it's so common for them.
Yeah. Like if I would have said, hey, don't tickle my kid. And she'd be like, oh, ha, ha, ha. You know? Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah. You know, so she kissed him again thinking that I was kidding. I was like, no, I'm serious. Don't kiss him. And when I did that, she put him down. She was noticeably embarrassed and walks out of the party. Doesn't bother me a bit because I said what I had to say. Right. And if she's going to be offended, that's on her. Yeah. Other people there were offended that I said that. They reached out to my wife and basically said, hey, what Seth did was wrong. That lady probably was crying on her way home. And the unfortunate piece to that, right, is that lady was not able to recognize what she was doing. Okay, when random people are kissing your kids, and I don't give a fuck if it's your teacher, when random people are kissing your kids or showing them like a little bit elevated signs of affection,
you're teaching that kid that's okay.
You're teaching that kid that's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying that lady's a predator, but now my son who's 4 has to, in his 4-year-old, 5-year-old brain, figure out who's allowed to kiss me and who's not.
Yeah, because apparently everybody can.
Yep, and now...
my dad was right there, and he was cool with it, so I guess it's okay. Yep. But if he sees that you're not okay with it, like I've had conversations with my son, like we'll be at the doctor, and the doctor has to check his privates, and he's like, no, Daddy. I'm like, it's okay, bud, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, this is a doctor, because usually it's like only me and your mom. You know what I mean? If anybody ever tries. So it's like, I understand. But he wouldn't know that unless I taught him.
And even there, too, so it brings up a great point is, yes, the doctor, if I'm here, even if I'm here, or if I'm not here, or even if mommy and daddy, if mommy does something that you don't like, that's not okay.
Oh no, you can tell, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had that conversation with my kids, giving them a bath, and I told my daughter and I said, hey, you need to learn how to wash and wipe and do all those things because, you're 5 years old, 6 years old, and explaining all that. And I started to wash her, and she started to laugh. And she said, Daddy, you're touching me. And so I stopped and I said, okay, listen, Brooklyn, that's not funny. I said, you cannot joke about that. That's not funny. I said, if you don't want Daddy to do it, I don't want to do it either. So I said, you need to learn how to do it. So here's how you do it. And I showed her how to do it. Because I think that, 98% of the time, it's going to be somebody within your immediate circle of trust.
I know.
Yep. So over 78% of the time, it's somebody in your own house, right? So kids, this is happening to the people that they trust. So when mommy or daddy does it, well, no, it's okay because daddy said this is okay.
Yeah. This is wrestling. That's not wrestling, but
and or daddy's teaching me how to be a wife. That's like a common one.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me so mad, dude.
And so people, they use that trust. Obviously, like most of the time, it's almost never going to be this random person that walks in your life and does it to you.
So that's when like a kidnapping and murder happens.
Yeah,
and those, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're rare. You know, so it's almost always somebody and that's why I'd say like, with my children, I try not to be crazy about it, right? But they don't need to be alone in rooms with teenagers. People,
for what?
Yeah, and even let's like my wife has two younger sisters, right? And they don't need to be in their bedrooms. Like they just don't. I'm sorry. Like there's no. My wife she would kiss my kids on the mouth, for example, and that's like a no-no for me. I had to tell them, and it's just a frank conversation. It's like, look, I'm not accusing you of anything.
Of course not.
What I'm saying is there a benefit to kissing your kid on the mouth versus the cheek?
Yeah, I kiss my son on the top of his head.
Yep. And there's just
a sign of affection, so he knows I care and I'm here.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to kiss your kid in the mouth, because
I know some people do.
People do, right? And so and I'm not here to judge, but what I'm telling you is there a benefit to kissing them in the mouth versus on the cheek? If there's not, just kiss them on the cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're teaching them.
Just keep that reserved for like intimacy later on.
And the reason why I did this was because my daughter, when I would put her to bed, she would say, "Daddy, kiss me on the mouth." And I'm like, all right, we got to stop.
Yeah.
Like we can't do that. Like we're not doing that. And I never kiss my kids in the mouth, but my wife would kiss them on the lips, and people do that all the time. People do it to babies.
If you did, it would be okay.
It's okay. Like I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. I'm just asking you to think about everything you do with your kids because you're conditioning them to receive. My kids when
you show them what's okay.
Exactly.
What's not okay.
Yeah. When they were the kids always run around naked, right?
Of course. My son still does.
Yeah. So when they were old enough to realize that when they were naked, it was funny, I had to tell them stop. I said, okay, no more being naked, because now it's funny to be naked and pull your pants down. Okay. Well, what happens when daddy's not around?
Yeah.
And somebody says, oh, that person's naked. And then it's funny. Well, then it's like now, so you can see where it gets out of hand.
Of course.
So anyways, I try not to be crazy, but people don't realize how much conditioning you're doing and just preparing your kids for those things. And it's a balance, man. Like there's a line that you cross, you don't cross, Of
course.
There's a lot to that. So, I could talk about that shit all day,
Parenting's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard. I've had to spank my son on the butt and I don't want to.
Yeah.
But if I say, hey, if you continue to do that, I am going to spank you.
Yeah.
I've now committed myself. I need to show my son that I'm a man of my word.
Yeah.
If I say something, I want to do it. Not just if I'm going to I'll be there to pick you up from school and I show up. It's like, no, if you continue to do what you're doing, I'm going to spank your butt. And then it's like, afterwards, it's like, dude, I don't want, he's like, you like spanking me. It's like, dude, I hate it.
Yeah.
I would love it if I never had to spank you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? I probably dislike it more than you dislike it, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just part of life.
Yeah, and I think that's I've talked about spanking my kids on Mark's episode.
Oh, really?
And
today or I don't remember on the first one.
The first one. I mean, I think I briefly said it, or maybe I said it on another.
I was probably just more impacted from the rest of it than.
Yeah. Anyways, there was a lot of comments of your kids don't deserve to be whooped, or you're perpetuating. Look, for me, the line that's like, I think kids deserve whoopings. I mean, I haven't had to whoop my kids. I can't remember the last time I had to whoop my kids, truthfully. But I have given them some little cracks on the butt, and it's not like I'm beating the shit out of my kid. I mean, literally a 4-year-old, what do? You just like,
yeah.
And they're fucking destroyed, yeah.
And it's usually while he's in the act of doing something, and I'm doing it to startle him, not to like, you've crossed the line, I'm now going to inflict pain. It's like, hey, cut that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so people don't do that, and so then their kids, they run around without blinders on,
dude.
and they're fucking crazy. Dude, my 4-year-old and 6-year-old are the most disciplined little fuckers that I know. They're able to be quiet. I can take them to restaurants. They eat normal fucking meals. Yeah. They're not glued to a fucking tablet. Yeah. Like, they have a level of discipline because I've instilled it in them. Yeah. With that has come whoopings, but it's not, the difference in beating.
It's not a beating, dude.
Right. And the thing is I love them afterwards, right? When I talk about getting my ass whooped as a kid, when I got beat down by my mom, it was like, get the fuck out of my room afterwards. There was no love.
That's a beating, dude.
Right.
That's not a spanking.
Right. So
there's a huge difference.
But now so many people are scared to whoop their kids because they think that people think they're beating the shit out of their kids.
Fuck what people think. It's my kid, dude.
I know, but the world we live in, man, people are like, they don't want to hurt that little 4-year-old. Like, I've told my wife multiple times, I've let my kids suffer. Like, let them feel pain, let them feel emotions.
Yeah, you're doing more damage by not teaching them lessons that they're gonna learn much harder later, dude. You know? Yep. And my son we'll be out at the grocery store and some kid will be screaming or something, and my son will be like, Daddy, why are they behaving like that? Like, great question, dude.
Bro,
and I love to hear that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I see other kids I've seen kids that are like well-behaved, but if you put them around bad-behaved kids, they're the same way.
Yeah.
My son has come up to me and been like, is it okay to do that? And I'm like, yeah, they're just running around. Go run around. But like other times,
dude,
you can go run around,
bro.
But like screaming and like causing a scene or like...
Dude, my kids are the same fucking way. We'll be in public. If some kids are being crazy, they'll be like they'll look at me. And the same thing at a playground, or if there's like kids kind of, whatever, or at like a party or something, like, Daddy, are we allowed to? I'm like, yeah, you're good. Go play, have fun, And then my kids also know, like, I've straight up told my kids, hey, don't fucking do that because that's annoying. Yeah. And some people might be like, oh, how could you ever say that to your kid? They're just trying to be funny. And it's like, no. They need to know that there are boundaries. And like, when you say the same thing 15 fucking times, it's like, hey, look, I know you think that joke's funny, but you've already said it.
It was the first time.
It was the first time. And now it's just annoying, and so you're just being annoying. And it's like, oh, that hurts. It's like, I'd much rather her experience that feeling with me in a safe place than her go to her fucking party at 15, 14 years old or hanging out with some friends at school.
And everybody's like, you're annoying. And dude.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, dude. Yeah, it is, bro. So it's like, look, man, fucking be hard on your kids. Like, show them the right way so they can be tough little kids when they grow up, man. Like, that's the one thing with my childhood, growing up so quickly, I've never been scared of anything in life. Like, I've never been scared of like traveling. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. Like, I remember,
just figure it out.
Yeah, dude, just figure the fuck out. Like, going to the airport for the first time. Yeah. I went by myself. I was 17 years old going to basic training.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they put me in charge of these other fucking people. I'd never been in the goddamn airport before. I show up and I'm just like, all right, I don't know what we're doing, but I'm going to fucking do it. And there's a level of like, figure it the fuck out that you get when you grow up like that. Yeah. I have it now in my adulthood as well. Even writing this fucking book. When I started writing the book, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm going to do this shit. Yeah. And I fucking did it.
And now you have a book.
And I fucked up a lot of things on the way. Yeah. But I got here, Yeah. And so there's a level of like, let your kids explore and let them get hurt, let them fall down, let them feel those things, because you don't want them to feel that first interaction and not know where to go and not know who they can call or trust or not know, what to do about the situation. So you got to let them. And it hurts as a parent, man. It hurts.
Sucks.
Yeah, it hurts.
I hate that.
Yeah.
And there are times where I have the solution.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that's the worst part.
But that's the hardest. Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's like, but then I think back to some of like the kids that I grew up with who probably had parents that always just gave them the solution.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it was when I was a kid. I thought they were just like privileged fucking assholes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that parents had so much effect on their kids. I thought when I was younger, I didn't. But nowadays, it's like me getting mad. Like when I see a kid misbehave, it's like, oh, I hope I never meet their parents.
Dude, that's exactly what I say. I'm like, God damn, their parents must be some fucking assholes.
Yeah, because to get mad at the kid, it's like the kids in the foster system. It's like to get mad at a kid who hasn't been raised would be the same as getting mad at a painting for sucking. It's like, no, it's the artist who sucks. The painting just is what the artist made it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, how can I get mad at this poor kid who just doesn't know to chew with their mouth closed or doesn't know that he can't just stand there with his hand down his pants. You know what I mean? Like out in public, like it's not on them, but who am I to like try and chime in if it's not my kid? Like it's hard, dude. Being a dad, it's awesome, but like it's tough because there are some times where I've had to tell my son will be like, hey, can I go play with those kids? And they're kids of like friends of mine. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they behave. Like, no. And I know that, and he's a little older, and I know he thinks he's funny, and he's going to pick on you or throw a ball at you faster where you can't catch it. And it's like, no, you can't hang out with him. But Dad, you'll understand when you're older. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I said no. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I me and my wife had a conversation one time. We were talking about putting my daughter on the bus to go to school. And
I can't imagine.
Well, I was like, I told her, I said, so here's my thing, right? I said, why can't she ride the bus? And my wife said, I don't want to ride the bus. There's too many older kids on there, like this and that. And I said, well, when will she be able to ride the bus? And my wife says, next year. And I said, what's the difference between next year and now? And
there's still going to be older kids.
There's still going to be older kids. And so she's like, well, she's going to get bullied or something's going to happen. Like, what if somebody hurts her feelings? I'm like, what if? Like, let her go. Like, let her get on the fucking bus. Like, you know what I used to think about kids who didn't ride the bus when I was a kid? Like, what a bunch of fucking bitches, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you're
riding the bus was sick, dude.
Bro, and all of the kids whose parents took them to school and dropped them off, bunch of fucking pussies. Because they were like, and like, I'm not saying that to be
it's true. They don't have to stand out at the bus stop in the cold.
Yes, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that shit builds character.
Yes, dude. Sitting out in the fucking snow, throwing snowball fights at the bus stop, walking to the bus stop, walking home, sitting in the fucking bus. I mean, you know, getting up, you have to get up earlier when you ride the bus. Like, and so all those kids.
Teaches you to be on time at a place.
Like, man.
Without your parents fucking holding your hand.
Bro, like all those kids who parents dropped them off like 5 minutes before school started. They were all soft kids.
Yeah, because they had in-ground pools in their backyard.
Yes,
both parents.
Yes,
dude. I know.
So that's what I was telling my wife. I was like, I'm not raising no bitches in my house, bro. Like I want some kids that, and there's levels to it, But it was a funny conversation we had, and it's just it made me think about my childhood. Like, man, like all those kids, and I would look at them the same way. I'd be like, damn, man, must be nice. But then I would always be like, man, these fucking kids, bro.
Fuck you,
dude.
Yeah. Just because I was probably jealous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, oh, we're going to play dodgeball? You go on the other team, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I mean, it's funny. It carried over to when I was in the military, too. Like, when I got in the military, I was in the infantry. And so in the infantry, we're always getting the shit end of the stick. You're outside, you're in the rain, you're in the snow, you're sucking, and people are back in the rear, nice and cold or nice and warm in their tents or whatever. Yeah. I mean, you would sleep outside and you'd wake up with ice on your fucking sleeping bag. It was fucking horrible. Yeah. But if anybody ever said, hey, you can go back and sleep tonight at the barracks and be warm, you'd be like, fuck you, man. Fuck that. Fuck that shit. Fucking pussies. Yeah. Like, I'm staying out here with the boys.
My boys are sleeping out here. I'm sleeping out here.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like that same mentality you have when you grow up with some rough kids. Yeah. You see all the privileged kids and you're just like, man, fuck those guys. Like,
I know who I want on my team, dude.
Exactly.
When shit goes down.
Exactly. Yeah. As nice as that would be, I'll roll with the guys that I'm rolling with,
Yeah, because you can still earn that shit later in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can be a kid who kind of had it rough and have a easier adulthood, and you'll appreciate the adulthood.
Exactly.
You won't expect some trust fund or like,
you
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or expect that someone's just gonna give you a Tesla for your 18th birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like, but
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm glad I don't.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'd be a prick, dude.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, when I went out to high school, my grandparents adopted me. I went from a city school to a country school. Went from basically probably it was 60-40 black to white community to all white. There were 2 black kids in the entire school.
That's it?
Yeah, they were in foster care from the city that I came from. Wow. So, and they ended up being my best friends, of course. But at that school, it was the Mustangs was the mascot. So all kids got a brand new Mustang for their fucking 16th birthday. I mean, there was like fucking nothing but Mustangs in that goddamn parking lot.
Really?
Like fucking, I'm not going to say like, maybe not rich kids, but they could buy their fucking kids a car, and it was a Mustang.
I can't even buy me a car, dude.
Yeah, you know, and so I'm like, so when I showed up out of that school, I was like, what the fuck? You know, my grandparents, they bought me a moped when I turned 15.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I was fucking pissed because I was like, you know, mopeds are cool, man, until somebody sees you riding it. You know?
Of course.
So, so I was embarrassed about that, and then like, so I like didn't even want it, and I'm glad I rode the bus until I was a senior because I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
And you know, I was glad I got to experience those things. I mean, not at the time because I was like,
oh, of course.
I was the only senior riding a fucking bus. Everybody rode to school with a friend or drove.
A friend took me. I didn't have my license. I didn't want to take the driving school thing, so I just got my license when I turned 19. I had buddies driving me around.
I did the same thing. I got. I mean, and that wasn't even like that wouldn't even do to me. I just then I don't know, but I didn't get my license until I was 18, and so, you know, I was the only senior riding a bus, and I you know, I had a lot of these things that just nothing was handed to me. Like, basically nothing was ever handed to me. Even when I moved in with my grandparents.
A few whoopings were handed to you.
Yeah, you're damn right.
Sure, yeah.
Even when I moved in with my grandparents, who were well off, like my grandpa retired from Ford, my grandma ran her own business. They didn't hand nothing to me. Like they, you know, that was like that empathy and accountability to a T almost, where they felt for me. They felt for how bad I had it as a kid and all those things. But you
can feel that way and also not spoil you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they spoil you with love.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
I mean,
you know,
my grandpa would get me up on Saturdays at fucking 8 a.m. He'd say the same stupid fucking shit every fucking Saturday. If you're going to hoot with the Owls, you got to soar with the Eagles. That's what he would always say. He'd wake my ass up and we'd go cut grass somewhere for fucking 4 hours because he was retired and so he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And you know, you know, another like testament to that is like we went to like a prom and you know, I never went to any of those things in high school. I never cared about them. And I don't know, I was an asshole to all the girls, so I didn't get any dates anyways. But I was going to go to one, and you had to wear a suit to it. You had to dress formal. I didn't have a fucking suit. And so my grandparents, they gave me my grandpa's fucking suit. And so I got this.
From when?
I don't fucking know. And I had this big ass baggy fucking suit. I'm like, you got to be
made
fucking
for a grown ass man.
Yeah, dude. And I was like, fuck no, dude. So, you know, we went to my friend's house, put on some other clothes, and went to the thing. And I couldn't get in because I wasn't dressed formally. But like that experience sucked to be like, damn, grandma and grandpa, like we got money to buy a suit. Like fucking just help me for once, you know. Yeah. And they didn't. And they just, I don't think they probably understood as much as maybe they should have or could have, but nonetheless, even when I was in a position to be handed things, people were still like, we're not going to give this to you, you know, as much, and they could have, you know, so many times in my life, people could have given me a break because of all the shit, you know, but nobody ever gave me a break. And it, you know, I had to do it on my own. I mean, it doesn't sound like anybody gave you a break. I mean, fuck, you became addicted for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, so.
From 19 to 33, dude.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah. It was a long
When I talked to Clark on the phone, he was like, I got done telling him my whole story before I went up and did his podcast. And he was like, so what happened? Like, what happened after you reported him? I was like, I don't know. I just moved on. And he's like, you were never an addict? You never became an alcoholic? No therapy? Like, what the fuck happened? And I was like,
That's
no.
weird.
Yeah.
It's so rare, dude.
Yeah. He's like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't know. He's like, how the fuck did you survive? I was like, I don't fucking know. I just did.
Yeah, heroin helped me out, dude.
I mean, I remember one time I tried to take Oxy.
Did you get sick?
Well, yes, but I don't know what the fuck it was. I don't even know if it was actually Oxy because I was 12 years old. This is when I first left my mom's house. The first person I stayed with was actually my dad for about a month before I almost ended up in juvie. So anyways, while I was there, he lived in a trailer park, and there was another kid who was in high school there. His mom was a nurse, and so one day he's like, hey man, like we can go get some fucking Oxy from my mom's thing. He's like 15, 16. I was like, all right, and I mean, at this point, I was like, fuck life, you know.
Oh, yeah,
like,
and you probably didn't even know what he was fucking talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And so I was drinking NyQuil and Zyrtec to go to sleep at night.
Okay.
Because I was just like so ready to fucking die. Yeah. You know, that my mom had just been taken away from me. So, and that was a really bad day anyways. So anyways, I go to this kid's fucking house and we're in his mom's dresser looking for the pills. And he pulls it out. He's like, all right, this is it. In the bottle, it says, I think it said fucking whatever the fuck it said on it. This means it's oxy. I don't fucking know. Yeah. So I don't know shit about drugs. And so he pulls the pill bottle out and he's like, go out to the living room and make sure my mom doesn't pull up. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean make sure your mom doesn't pull up? Like, if she pulls up, or what do you fucking mean? I knew what he was doing. So I go to walk out. And as soon as I walk out, I turn back around and look at him, and he's switching the fucking pills out. He was going to give me something else. And it could have been for the benefit. I don't know. He could have, now that I'm thinking about it, he might have just gave me some fucking aspirin, you know? But I told him, I was like, no, give me the fucking pills that are in that fucking bottle. And he's like, all right, dude. So I don't remember if he popped one or not. I think he did. But I popped it right there in his house. And like, I don't know what the fuck it's supposed to do to you. But let me tell you, I was fucked up sideways on this. I went out to the park and I was sitting on the swing, like my whole body was pale. I was freezing cold.
Yeah.
I was fucked up, dude.
If you keep taking it, you get through that and it feels good.
Okay, well, I'll go back to it.
You gotta fight through it, dude. And then when you don't have it, you feel like that.
Fuck. Yeah. I was sitting on the swing, dude. My sister came out. She's a year older than me. She saw me on the swing, and she helped me get back to my own trailer. And she was like about to call 911. You know, she was like really concerned.
Yeah, it was probably oxy. Yeah.
And they laid me down in my bed, and I lay there for a few hours. And my dad never like checked on me, so I was like good. Got up, got some food. 4 or 5 hours later, and I was good to go. But dude, I was like sitting on the swing, like what the fucking things were spinning. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, so, it's all bad, dude.
Yeah.
So can you think of anything off the top of your head that you feel might be important or something that was on your mind that I have not brought up?
We talked about a lot.
I know. I don't even know how long it's been.
Yeah, this is a great conversation.
But you're going to have to get to the airport, and I'm super hot, dude. I was going to get up and open one of the windows, but I was like, I'll just muscle through it.
Yeah, same here.
You're hot too?
Yeah, well, I got a little warm a minute ago, but then it kind of cold. I don't know, feels like it cooled down a little bit. But no, man, I don't really. We talked about a lot, dude. I got to get to the airport, but.
You're still in Ohio? Is that where you live?
I live in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. You like it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you were saying it's a custom in the South. I was like,
yeah,
why?
Yeah.
Ohio ain't the South. Why are people kissing your kids on the mouth?
Like, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I live down there now. No, it was cool to get out here and meet you, dude. This is crazy, man. It's crazy that channel's introduced me to two people. You and Clark, and
how often do you feel like you're going to be able to do your own episodes of your podcast?
Well, I was
trying to do like once a week.
I was doing them weekly. Right now, I'm just too busy with everything. But like when I do like just a little like quick little fucking talk, I probably post those once or twice a week. Okay. Sometimes I'll get a hair up my ass and I'll be like having really something to say, and so I'll do like a few videos. But I just kind of started doing that. So my goal is whenever I get like something that pops up in my head, I'm just gonna like pull out my phone, record a quick video, throw it up on YouTube. And now as far as interviewing people goes, I don't even know if I'm that good of an interviewer because I'm really good at talking. I can talk for fucking ever, but most people aren't. Like
I know.
I sat down with a girl. What was her story?
Do you do interviews on yours?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I interviewed a girl and I'm like, hey, so tell me about this really bad moment where somebody died. And she's like, yeah, it was bad. I'm like, can you explain? She's like, yeah, it was bad and I was sad. I'm like, fucking A, like, can you? Sweet. All right, well, good talk, Yeah, so I've tried to interview people a few times, and I have, and some of them are really good, So I just got to get back into it. It's just right now, it's just not a priority. The priority is the book and speaking, and those two things are the priority. And with those two things comes a lot of other subcategory tasks that I've got to execute to get those.
That all take time.
Yeah.
So that's so crazy that Mark did the forward,
bro. I couldn't believe that. There was only one person who I wanted to write the forward for my book, and it was Mark. When I started this thing,
yeah,
and I reached out to Mark like a year ago, and he never responded.
Really?
Yeah, and and probably just got lost up in the mix.
He probably gets 1,000 emails an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so it got lost in the mix. And then I was booked to come out here for an interview down in, it's about maybe 45 minutes from here, down south somewhere. And it's for a veterans channel.
Oh, nice.
And so I was coming out here to do that, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll just hit up Soft White Underbelly. I didn't even know he filmed out here, to be honest. I thought he did, but I wasn't sure. And so I sent him an email one more time, and I was literally like flying out here like 2 days later.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they responded back, and I was like, oh, fuck.
Was it Noel that responded?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And so then I was like, hey, I'll be out there this weekend. And they were like, all right, we're good, Saturday or whatever. And so I came out and did it. And when I did it, Mark was, visibly, emotional and things like that. And I said, hey, if you feel that strongly, would you endorse it? I've got a couple endorsements in here. Oodles Wallace, she's like an actress out here. She lives out in LA.
Okay.
This Dr. Leslie, she lives out here in LA as well. I'll have to connect you with her.
Leslie Dobson?
She'd love to talk to you, I bet.
You think?
Oh yeah. She's pretty fucking cool.
What does she do?
So she interviews, or she was like a professional for pedophiles, like studying and interviewing pedophiles.
Okay.
And figuring out.
Shit.
Dude, yeah. So
I would love to ask her questions.
Yeah, me too. She's got her. I'll get you connected with her. I don't want to spill anything, but I'll get you connected with her. Right. But anyways, Nick Lavery is one of my mentors, so he wrote me an endorsement. His actually went on the back of the book. But this is all I was asking Mark to do. And then he was like, yeah, I'd absolutely write an endorsement.
Oh, you just wanted like a little
snippet, like a little like, hey, whatever, cool story. And then I was like, well, if you feel that strongly, would you write the foreword? Because writing the foreword, even though it's only...
How long is it?
It's like 500 words maybe, or less than that.
A page?
Yeah, that's the foreword right there.
Hell yeah.
Just that. But to get somebody to write that, like that's a big commitment. Yeah. One, because they're putting their name on your product and associating themselves with you. Right. But it just takes time. And, Mark was doing his second book at the time. So
I think you and I are both going to be in it.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
It's going to be sick.
Yeah.
And, dude, to get Mark to do anything, he's like a very successful, busy man.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised when I text him that he responds.
Dude.
Like pretty quickly.
I know that. So that to get that on my book, man, I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Because I know it maybe sounds like I'm maybe exaggerating, but he's the only person that I wanted to write my foreword. Because he's doing something that people don't want to do. He's talking with people.
Taking heat for doing something great.
Yeah.
Taking heat, dude.
Yeah. The world lives in a shadow, or lives outside of that shadow, and they don't ever want to look, into that corner of the world. And he is the only fucking person in the world that does it the way that he does it. And if it wasn't for him, I would have never seen Clark. If it wasn't for Clark, I don't know if I would have ever wrote my fucking book.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And if it wasn't for fucking Mark and Clark, I wouldn't be here with fucking you. You know what I'm saying?
I've had people reach out. I just had a kid reach out to me, dude. Last time I talked to this kid was probably 2001. We used to play computer games, an online computer game together.
What did you play?
EverQuest. It's before your time, dude.
I played World of Warcraft.
So EverQuest was before.
Yep.
Dude, and me and two buddies would be on the phone on headsets playing 18 hours, dude. We'd skip school, and he saw my interview, dude. He just emailed me yesterday. He commented on my video on one of my podcasts and was like, dude, this is, I don't know if you remember me. And I'm like, I can't believe he's saying it. But we used to play EverQuest together. And the comment was just super sweet because he was like a computer geek. I was too, but I also played sports. So I was like an undercover geek.
Same
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, same here.
And so, but like, we were like good friends. And even though it was like from a distance, he lived like 30 minutes outside of where, and he was a few years younger, but like he was bullied a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
And he would be like, I'd rather play EverQuest with you guys on the phone and skip school and get in trouble because you guys are cool. Like you guys treat me good and I go to school and everybody fucking makes fun of me. And and I saw him comment yesterday and then so I gave him my email. He emailed me. I'm like, dude, please email me. I'll give you my phone number. And it was just the nicest. I didn't know I had that effect on him. You know what I mean? I thought he just liked playing games with me. I didn't know he was like looking forward to like escaping being bullied through. You know what I mean? Because I didn't even think. I didn't think that was a thing, dude. Like, I didn't get bullied. I didn't bully people. So it was like, it's not me seeing television. You know what I mean? But it's just when someone reaches out or like gets vulnerable for a second and is like, hey man, what you just did fucking really changed something in me. Or I wish I could do what you're doing. Or I've been holding on to that same secret and I'm never going to tell anybody. But thank you for saying it. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've had a few people from my hometown who've commented on Mark's video saying like, hey, Seth, I don't know if you remember me, and I remember them. I've had a few of that. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah. One kid commented and said, hey, I remember Seth. He was always super nice to me. This kid got bullied as well. And I'm just proud to see he's out here doing this thing. I had another kid who commented, he was one of my soldiers when I was in the Army. And he's like, oh my God, like Sergeant Gehle. He's like, yeah, we didn't get along that well, but but the thing is I really liked the kid. Yeah. You know, I was just his team leader, and I had to fuck him up. That was your job. That was my job. You know, so I've had a lot of those comments too, and it is cool, man. It's just the internet can be can be a horrible thing, but it can be a very beautiful piece to it as well to be able to do these things. Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's good to share your story. It's good to let people know that you appreciate them, you know, for people to reach out, because they always feel like when I spoke at the conference yesterday, it's the last thing I'll say. There was a guy dead center that cried the whole time. He didn't come up and approach me afterwards. Really? Yeah. And that's okay. I know I did what I needed to do for him. Yeah. But I know he probably felt so shameful. Or
like, I don't want to be a bother.
Yeah. And also, like I told Mark today when I was doing the thing, is like, there are some people that I'm so fucking thankful for in my life. Like, I will tell you thank you, and I mean it. Like, thank you, like gratitude. Like, you don't comprehend how grateful I am for you and what you've done for me in my life. Certain people, you know? Yeah. And I'm sure that guy probably had that, and where it almost comes off as like, I don't want this to be weird, but like, I'm so thankful for you. You know what I'm saying?
I've had people, yeah.
And so I'm sure that's where that guy's head was at, where he didn't want to come up and be like, give me a hug and cry because it's embarrassing and he's a man. You know, so you have those feelings. And what I would say to people is, don't let those things get in the way. Like, call your buddy and tell him you love him. Reach out to that influencer, comment on the video, or if you know that person, you know, let them know, hey man, like your video fucking helped me. And if they respond, great. If they don't, you know, I think I can speak from somewhat experiences. I see most of the comments, if not all of them. I try to respond to all of them as much as I can for now. Me too. You know, but people, and especially when you see somebody in person, man, like, you don't have to run up and be like, hey, let's get a picture. But, you know, if you do, I'm sure most people don't really care. But the thing is we all appreciate anybody who reaches out and says thank you. Hell yeah. You know, we just
that's why I'm doing it.
Exactly. That's exactly.
I'm not going to get rich. I'm not going to become famous. I'm doing it because I needed someone doing this when I was on the other end of it.
And I told people too, this is the last thing I'll say. All right, fuck. But I told people at the conference, you know, I don't have 1 million followers. I don't have a blue check after my name. Yep. I don't have 1,000 comments and millions of subscribers. I could pay for all of those things. In today's world, you go on YouTube right now, pay $50 and you'll have 1 million subscribers. Yeah,
and you pay for views.
Yeah, pay for views, pay for comments. You can pay for it all, right? Yeah. I don't give a fuck about vanity metrics, right? The metrics that I have are, you saved my life. Yeah. I was able to go home and tell my wife what happened to me. We've been married for 40 years. I've never told her. You know, I'm able to see myself now and hear myself, and I feel seen, and I feel loved, and I feel understood. Like, those are the metrics that I have that are vastly more important than if this fucking video gets 1 million fucking views. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, life-saving metrics, you know, and so that's why we do it, right? You know, my book, if it sells 1 copy or 1,000 copies or 50,000 copies, what I want is I want to save lives.
Yeah, you just want the right people to read it. Yeah. You know? I just want I have 5,000 subscribers. To me, that's a lot, dude.
Yeah, that is a lot.
5,000 people?
I got 1,500.
Dude, but I'll look at other people's stuff and be like, God damn, they have 500,000?
Yeah.
And And like it shouldn't matter.
Right.
And it usually doesn't. Sometimes they'll be like, damn, that would be nice. But like the 5,000 who I do have, like stick around for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not doing what everybody else is doing where I'm like, you know, I don't know, whatever people like reaction videos or chewing on food with the mic real close to my mouth at AMS. Like, I'm like not doing all the popular things, but people still come. And like when I don't post a video for a week, people will be like, hey man, you know, we miss you. Like make another video. And that shit's like, oh,
that's
damn.
awesome.
Yeah, because I thought eventually when I'm putting out 3 a week, it's like people are probably like, oh God, another one. You know what I mean? But I guess not. Some people probably are.
Dude, that's why...
My girlfriend sometimes is probably like, "Ugh, he's naked again."
Yeah.
But like, well, she's the only one who can get naked for you. But sometimes she's probably like, "Hell yeah, he's naked."
Yeah.
You just gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
You know.
When I looked at your YouTube channel and I saw the way you did your videos, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. That's what I'm gonna do. That's why I started doing it. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna try and do this big ass production. And I've had people message me and say that, like, hey, I can help you out. And it's like, look, right now the production piece is not a priority. There's about 100 people that watch my videos,
and it's the message,
and they're getting something out of this.
Yeah.
So appreciate you, dog.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad.
Man, the book will be out December 2nd.
Oh, it's not out yet?
No.
Oh, this is a secret.
Yeah. So this is a author's copy. So you got the third one ever.
What is an author's copy?
It's just all it is. It's a preprint. That's all. Nothing special about that, other than the fact that you're getting it before everybody else. So
you look super tan in this picture, dude.
Yeah. There's some good lighting in there.
But yeah, did Mark take it?
No,
he takes the best pictures.
Yeah,
dude.
I know. I wanted him to take my headshot, but I didn't want to be like over asking. You know.
I know.
I don't. Because I was gonna ask him to take a picture with the book, and I was like,
oh really?
Yeah. I was like, but I didn't.
And he would have, but it's
I think he would have. Yeah,
of course he would have.
But I just. You know how it is. Like, you don't want to over ask, overextend, your stay and all that. So.
I know.
But anyways, the book will be out December 2nd. When do you plan on posting this?
Tonight, dude.
Tonight?
Yeah. Once I stop that, while I drive back to Riverside, I'm gonna be. I mean, it'll take a few hours. Why do you want me to wait?
Well, if you could wait till December 2nd, because people are going to see this and they're going to want to buy the book right away.
Can they pre-order it?
No.
Why not?
It's not open for pre-orders. Or I'll make a deal with you. You can post it whenever you want. Just post another one on December 2nd and say, hey, Seth's book's out. It's available now.
Okay, deal.
Because people are going to ask. And I'll send you the link when I get the link to the Amazon page. So if people are watching this, we'll get the link to you. But
it's going to be on Amazon?
Amazon is the best place to find it. Yeah, you can. I'm on all the social medias, whatever. It's just Seth_Gehle. My YouTube channel is the same.
What is your YouTube channel?
Seth_Gehle. I think.
For them, I know I'm subscribed to it, but for my people,
I think I don't know. Fucking just look me up, Seth Gehle. I mean, fuck, it's the internet. If you can't fucking find me, you gotta.
If you don't find Seth Gehle on Google, there's something wrong.
Yeah, just YouTube Seth Gehle. You'll find my channel and probably 50 other interviews I did.
Yeah.
You'll find me. You'll find me on Amazon. I'm on Instagram. Fucking X, Facebook, whatever the fuck.
It's November 22nd today. December 2nd, his book's coming out. I can't promise him that I'm not going to post this because I've been looking forward to this for weeks, dude.
No, post it. You're good.
I've been telling the people, like, I got in touch with them. Everybody's been like, I can't fucking wait. And so you know what I mean? I just.
Well, we'll have to reconnect, man. We'll have to get together
in Atlanta.
Well, with Mark.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I bet he would do it.
Yeah.
I know he would do it.
Yeah.
He's the best. Yeah. All right, let's. I'm gonna stop this.
All right.
Thank you so much, dude. Oh hell yeah! I wonder how long that was.